Good morning once again. We are about to start, but before we start, I have two small announcements to make. One, at your tables you have seen these, right? Please scan these QR codes. One of them is for the registration, so please scan that to get registered. We are trying to be paperless today, so please make sure that you have scanned that for your own registration. That's one. Two, we have a special newsletter entitled Shukran Aidan. So as we are about to start, scan one of these QR codes for that newsletter and start reading how we are thanking and bidding farewell to Aidan. And then we'll start in a few minutes. So I hear the registration one is the one in the middle, and then the newsletter is to the left, and then there is a bonus publication there, Sauti za Wananchi at 10 to the right.
Nazimano zimeshamili angani, vidaka visonavyo vimeanguka, mbata njema nimezipavyo. Kwa ujumla mambo si mabaya, Peleka salamu kutoka Dar es Salaam, zifikishe mpaka Lamu, pwani ya Mombasa, kwa miaka mingi hayo. Yale yaliyoandika leo yanatimilika. Salamu salamu Simbanume na wamsi, sikizani tatomboa, maketile vitongoi ya safari za mashua. Sasa nakumbuka mbili ya kutweka na kutua, haipato na mpewa zitakapo kukutana. Wachangamana pamoja, nimemwona fisi na mbuzi wakiandamana pamoja, na mama kuku na kozi washile hao wana, na mama kuku na mwewe wakilea watoto wao, na mtu msimauzi akionya watulia, na mtu wasona macho anaonyesha watu njia. Hayano sikuambiwa kwenye kwa macho yangu.
Asante sana Vita. Mabibi na mabwana, asanteni sana. Naomba tukae tuweze kuanza. It's so nice seeing people smiling and laughing and catching up. This is beautiful. Karibuni sana. We are now starting our event. We don't really know how to call it, but it's just a moment when we are bidding our farewell to our outgoing executive director, Aidan Eyakuze, na kumkaribisha our incoming executive director, Bwana. So that is exactly why we are all here. Now, how it unfolds, we will all decide in a democratic manner. It's going to be a democracy today. Na tutakubaliana how we are running this show. In that spirit of democracy, we invited Aidan to have a say in how we run this show. And he advised that we don't just make it as a celebration, but rather a moment to reflect over the past 10 years and looking forward as well, however many years into the future, and have an intellectually rich engagement, interaction today. So there will be tough questions. And when you see those tough questions, don't blame it on me. It's Aidan who wanted those tough questions. Mimi niko na Vitali, tutakuwa tunapiga gitaa na kuimba. Maswali magumu ni ya Aidan na wenzake. So the program, we will have some opening remarks from our interim executive director. Nitamkaribisha in a few moments. And today I'm going to call her Madam Violet Alinda. She hates it when I call her Madam, but I'm going to call her because I have the microphone. Violet Alinda will address us and invite us, and then we'll go on to the session that we have. And the way we are going to be running these sessions, we'll have about 4 short segments. In the first segment, I will be asking Aidan a number of questions to have him reflect on his 10 years of leadership at Twaweza, but his local to global engagement as well. As he responds to the question, we are going to encourage some conversations at your tables, and then we are going to invite maybe 1, 2, 3 people to engage with what Aidan has just said. And then we will have another segment, but between the segments, we are going to have Vitali Maembe perform. And his task is really, really tough. He will be listening to the conversations and then come up with something that relates to what has just been said. Now, his work is work of art. Wanasema, kazi ya fasihi usioielewa ujijue wewe sio mlengwa, si ndio? Kwa hiyo msipomwelewa, manake ni nyie sio walengwa. Sio yeye ameshindwa kufanya kazi yake. Okay? So there is no way that he is going to fail. Only you will fail if you don't understand. Okay? And then we'll have another panel. Tutawatangaza baadaye. And then we'll have another transition with Vitali Maembe. And then we'll have another set of speakers. Watajibu maswali. Wata-engage. And then we'll engage as well. And then at the end, once we are done with all the different speakers, we'll invite Aidan again on the stage for responding to the final question. And that question, and the aim of that question is to bring everything together. All the conversation that we are having today, he's always very good in synthesizing when he listens and then he synthesizes. So we'll ask him a question that will allow him to synthesize everything that has been said today and then come up with a summary that it looks back, but at the same time looks forward and articulating the present as well. There are surprises in between, and there will remain surprises. So be prepared. For those who know me, you know that those surprises may involve calling some of you and asking you questions. Kwa mjiandae. Najua kuna watu wameshaanza kusmile, namuona Shangwe, Halifa. You know, unapo smile ndo unanipa idea kwamba nikukaribishe wewe. Put on your poker face. Ndio sita kupick you. So, but we'll see how it goes. We are going to try to make it as engaging and as interactive as it can be. So at any time when we're asking you to contribute to the conversations, please feel free and make your contributions. It's just an intellectual conversation looking back over the past 10 years and into the future as well. And then at the end, tutakaribisha yoyote ambaye angependa kuzungumza in a less structured format, but we're also going to have the Twaweza board and members, representatives, say something and do something. They will say and do something at the end. And also Twaweza staff will also say and do something. The doing part, it's part of the surprise. Go to jiandae. Alafu, we will close with lunch. Tutaenda lunch baada ya hapo. In the meantime, in case unataka kwenda msalani, there is this door here, you go through, you will get there. But if you are an introvert like me and you feel shy, you don't want to walk to the front and then go through that door and everybody knowing what you're going to do there, you can go through that door and ukashuka ngazi ukaenda zako kule. Okay? And please do not judge when you see people going through this door. I'll be looking around. Now, without taking much time, let's invite our interim executive director, Violeta Linda, who is also the director of Voice and Participation, and she comes from Uganda. She is the country lead in our Ugandan office. Karibu, Violet.
Thank you so much, Barwani. Wow. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, I'm so happy to be here this morning and to see you all. You know, I want to start with a small parable. You know, Uganda is a very religious country. In the Bible, in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 1 to 4, there is a parable of a rich man who organized the feast. He invited people. The people did not show up. You know. So imagine that we invited people for a celebration and the room is empty. Barwani, what would you do? So given the fact that you can only eat so much, it's the reason I'm so happy to see you, all of you here. Because we sent out an invitation, you have honored it, you have respected it, we have a full house. Thank you very much for coming. Because we know there is a lot you're doing. But you know, just setting aside that time and saying, I'm going to spend the next 4 hours with the Twaweza family means a lot to us. So before I say a few things, I would like to recognize Mzee Uto. Yes, thank you for honoring that. I would also like to recognize Mzee Mabala. And the reason I do that, he taught me animation. And I am an ambassador of the Waragbishis. I think it wouldn't be fair not to mention that amidst us, they are the people that have brought us here today. The global Muragbishi, Aidan Eyakuze. And the incoming one, Anna, Karibu. I know that our civil society friends are in the room. I don't know who else is here. Kabwezito, you're most welcome, Honorable. Oh, now I can connect to the face because I have seen the picture. Yeah, I've seen the picture on Twitter. You're most welcome. Yes. I do not know whether we have any of our development partners in the room. Oh, you're most welcome. Yeah. Thank you for honoring that. I would also like to recognize, there are these people that we have worked with. In my previous life, we did work with the media, but at arm's length. When I joined Twaweza, we worked side by side. And the media have helped us amplify our work. They've maintained our visibility, and they're here with us today. You're most welcome. But there are those people that birthed the idea Twaweza. We have our founding members and board members. Karibu. And I would like also to recognize my colleagues, the ones that have set up this room today, that have done the running, the back end of the process. Team Twaweza Tanzania, thank you for being here. Thank you for preparing. But I also know the Waganda like me are joining online. Team Uganda, welcome. And Team Kenya is also online. Yeah. So, again to say that the reason we're here today, we are doing three things. We are celebrating. We are celebrating because they are hits, but also they are misses. In the misses, we pick lessons. Okay? But also, we are reflecting. As civil society, we find ourselves in a very challenging context. When you look at the geopolitics, you look at the African context itself, you look at the climate change issues, you think about the funding dynamics, there is a lot. If you look back 10 years ago, what was it like? Are there things we could have done differently? But also when you look at the future, how do we reposition ourselves as civil society to continue doing the important work that we do? And the other thing, we are here to connect. Believe you me, I think today I've known more people than I have known in a while. I really do hope if you are a Murabishi, a change agent, you always need somebody to cheer you on. You need somebody to lift you up. But also you need somebody with whom you bounce off ideas to stay the course. Because it can really be tough. And I do believe the purpose of us being here, when we do connect, we will be able to stay the course. Now, having said that, I'm aware that most of us in the room are leaders. And I know that one of the key things leaders do is to midwife. I do hope that today we will use this opportunity to birth some important ideas that we'll look back to at some point and say, wow, it was a day well spent. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Violet. Thank you so much. I don't think I need to say anything to that. And for setting the scene, the issues of closing civic space, the economic challenges, funding landscape, etc., etc. Those are the things that we're going to be reflecting in the next 2 hours or so. And to kickstart the conversations, let's invite mwenye siku yake leo, mgeni wa heshima. Hapendi kuitwa mgeni wa heshima, lakini leo wewe ndo mgeni wa heshima. We are all here because of you. All that you have done and all that you continue doing. Karibu sana. So now I'll give you a microphone. I was going to ask, should we sit or should we stand? It's a democracy. We sit, we stand, we stand.
Standing is, hello.
You see, that's democracy.
Sorry? Stand.
Hata kikaa mnamwona.
Nikae au nisimame? Sijui, hapo napiga kura. Nisimame? Nisimame tu.
Okay, all right. But kabla Aidan hujaanza kuongea, labda wote tungegeuka tuangalie kule mlangoni na Aidan akiwa anataka kuanza kuongea. Who do we see there?
Mama amekuja na mdogo wangu, yuko wapi mwingine? Wewe mdogo zangu amekuja. Karibuni. Sasa kuna viti hapa mbele. Asante Anastasia. Wow, this is very special. Anna, I need some tissue. Wow.
So tulikuwa tunaongea na mama, tukawa tunamuomba kwamba baadaye tumpe microphone kama atapenda kusema maneno machache. Mama akasema, sasa mimi niwaambie nini, si mnamjua, mmefanya naye kazi miaka mingi. Lakini sisi tukamwambia mama, sisi hatumfahamu alipokuwa na miaka 2, 3, 4. We want to hear those stories. Yes. So baadaye tutampa mama, atatuambia. So be prepared. But for now, you have been Twaweza's executive director for 10 years, working towards building democracy so that we can amplify the lives and the voices of the people in East Africa. But the context has been shifting, not only in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, but all over the world. Looking back in those 10 years, what would you say have been the gains and setbacks in democracy building? Karibu.
Asante. Good morning. Those questions are tough, Barwani. It's my own fault, as you said, right? When you look around, it's very hard to deny that there's been a significant democratic backsliding or recession, deterioration when you look around the world. All sorts of surveys and indicators are showing that a picture. Last year, I think, more people are living under authoritarian autocracies than are living under democracies. Trust of citizens in their governments and in many other institutions, including media and society, is waning. So the picture can look really, really very grim. I think part of the challenge has been we had a forward momentum after the fall of the Berlin Wall and, you know, an expansion of citizen participation in the choice of government. That forward momentum has slowed down. Some have said it's even stopped. In some countries, it has reversed. I think one of the big challenges, and maybe it also for us to think about in our countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, has been us as citizens, I think, just let the train go. We took it for granted that this forward momentum of expanding freedoms was the natural order of things, that all we had to do was sit back or ride the train. And there were very, very, very few of us, and I'm glad to say some are in this very room, who actually stood up and made sure to drive that train forward. But I have a feeling that that burden grew heavier and heavier. Zito will tell you. Mzee Uto will tell you. These are the people here who were driving that train of expanding freedoms, expanding accountability of governments to citizens. But it got heavier because we, ordinary citizens, took it for granted that that was going to be the order of things going forward. So I think the backsliding, the deterioration, is something that we have to recognize for what it is. That we have to stand up and defend actively in our daily lives, in our relationships with one another, begin there, but certainly in our relationship with our governments. We should not accept that we are mere subjects to obey, to accept, to be grateful for the little that we are given by our governments. We should step up and become citizens. And that's why so much of what we've been doing in Twaweza the last 10 years has put the citizen, the idea of a citizen, at the center of the work that we do. The voice, the engagement, the uragbishi, it is about wananchi wenyewe. Kuhakikisha kwamba wanajipatia wao wenyewe maendeleo, haki, maisha bora. It is our responsibility. So you said, so there's been backsliding, but I think there are seeds of an awakening to that reality. And I'm so proud of what Twaweza has been doing. Sometimes it can seem invisible, but that uragbishi at the village level, at the district level, is, for me, those are the really powerful seeds of creating, generating citizens and citizenship. And when you look, and it is final point, when you look now what's going on around the world, and especially in the United States, I think Americans are finding out that citizenship is not something you take for granted. So that on, is it Sunday, Saturday, they got out and declared their American citizenship. And they're finding out that they're going to have to keep doing this over and over and over and over again. So it is something that I'm proud of. It's planting that seed alongside with others about the absolutely vital work that we have to do as individual citizens.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aidan. That is very insightful, and it's like you prepared. And I gave him the questions this morning. Let me declare that. I didn't give him a year ago. Now, the next question, building on what you have just said, reflecting on your 10 years of leadership at Twaweza, and the work that you have been leading. Tell us one or two of your proudest moments and one or two of your lowest moments.
Okay.
You can decide whichever you want to start with.
I'll start with my lowest because my friend who helped see me through this particular lowest moment is here. The lowest moment was in August 2019, when on June 30th the government had changed the laws in Tanzania and all NGOs had to become NGOs. Now Twaweza had been a company limited by guarantee, which made it hard for the government to just pull the plug and throw you on the, on the heap. But June 30th, 2019, the law was changed and we had to register as an NGO. Let me tell you, I didn't think we would survive that process. I really didn't. He's nodding. We thought, wait, how are we going to survive this? They're using this transfer period of 6 weeks. I think we had 6 weeks to register, to basically futa zile wale wanaharakati ambao wanawasumbua. Remember that? So, with Richard, where are you, Richard? Modest. We tried to register another company limited by guarantee, but it got to the last minute and so Twaweza and stopped it. And then sitting next to Richard is Ben. At the same time, Ben Shabakaki, wait, Bwana. At the same time, Ben and I were scheming, how do we make sure that this passes? That Twaweza with its new constitution and setup passes and doesn't get footward and suddenly you don't exist. I was terrified for those 6 weeks. I really was worried that come August 20, whatever the date was, we would no longer exist. But Ben went everywhere. And finally, I think you were in Mbeya, weren't you? Following the registrar, he was in Mbeya, and one morning he woke up and says, Aidan, we have it. I said, we have what? We have the registration. Twaweza. I said, okay, at least Twaweza now can continue, at least under trying different circumstances, but hatuja futwa. That was a low moment, but Ben, Richard, we schemed, and we were able to make sure that Twaweza survived. My high moment, I've had so many, but there's one that continues to live each and every day, and I'm going to be quite mundane about it. Every time you guys send money, that thing that says levy, 0, that is my perpetual high moment. That showed the power of the Sauti za Wananchi. The power of the amazing Twaweza team that you should see here. Can I please stand them up? Anastasia, Risha, Barwani, because in this very space downstairs, August 22nd, 2022, we were visited by... Well, you guys don't know. We were launching a Sauti za Wananchi survey on Tozo. And FFU came. And these 3 people, and Entesh, was Entesh there? Had to go downstairs and stand down the FFU. I'm serious. Huh? But that's the drama. But that drama for us in Twaweza, which we tried to keep well hidden, led to 6 weeks later, the tolls are being removed. And now you can do transactions with 0 levy. We were asked by our board a couple of years ago, no, 2 years ago, yeah, when you're doing your strategy, think about the people level outcomes of your activities. What does this matter to ordinary citizens? For me, that is a very great example of the impact of Twaweza's work, working with citizens and the media to turn around a government policy that now and for many, many years to come, hopefully, really improves the lives of ordinary Tanzania.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I am going to add a little bit to that story of that experience on that particular day when we were here launching the Sauti za Wananchi on mobile money transaction levies. And this connects to our incoming executive director, Anna, in the following way. So Aidan was to present, I was moderating. And then one of our colleagues, Jane, who is seated there, if you can wave. Jane walked all the way from there, came here to the high table, and just told me that there are police who want to talk to one of the organizers. And then I thought I reacted in a very calm manner, like stepping down and walking out with Jane and getting out. Then I met the police. Risha came, joined, and Richard Modest and others, and we were talking to the police. And then I checked on my phone. I saw Zito's message saying that Anna amesema, Anna Bwana that is, amesema, umetoka hapa, kidogo kama inaonekana vitu haviko sawa. Is everything okay there? Before I could respond to his message, I think alipoona nimechelewa kujibu, he decided to walk out. Akaja akatujoin, akaendelea negotiate na wale police. And I remember one moment when he told me and Risha, subirini. Akaanza kuambia wale police, mnaona hiyo? Picha ya Rais Samia iko pale chini reception. Nyinyi, anawaambia wale police, mnaoperate kama bado mko zama zile. Sasa hivi ni zama hizi. Mtakuwa mmeharibu kabisa mkiendelea kuoperate kama mko zama zile. So thank you for that. And the connection to Anna is your situational awareness. Your situational awareness, we appreciate that. And welcome to Twaweza. Utatuangalia vizuri.
We need your situational awareness.
That was very, very helpful. Now, the other thing I wanted to say before we go to the final question is asking Aidan about his lowest and the proudest moment, and then he didn't talk about himself, he talked about Twaweza. Hivi ingekuwa wengine, tungeongelea nini? Remembering what he has been through. Passport, yes. And he didn't talk about it. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Always putting the organization, the citizens first, and rather than putting yourself forward. And adding to the story of putting the organization and the people first and not himself, at one point during hiyo issue ya passport, he had an audience with the then minister wa mambo ya ndani, Kangi Lugola. And Aidan met with the minister and they talked about kulikuwa na case ya unyanyasaji, wanawake wanavamiwa, wanapigwa, wanabakwa, Kigoma ilikuwa inaitwa Teleza. So he met with the minister ambaye ndo ameshikilia passport yake, anahoji uraia wake. But he never brought that issue kwenye hiyo conversation, and instead he just focused on the women in Kigoma who needed support from every corner, every angle in Tanzania. So thank you once again. Now, to your last question before we go to our next speakers. What would you say have been surprises? You know, as Steve Jobs once said, in hindsight, all dots connect. But in the moment, maybe there were moments where you felt, sikutarajia, this could have happened in the context, in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and all of those. It could be positive, it could be negative. What are some of the surprises when you are looking back in hindsight, and you really feel this is something that we never anticipated, but it happened, and we responded, so that we remain cognizant of the fact that there could be surprises moving forward?
Thank you. Let's talk a bit about leadership and country leadership. I think we should never underestimate I'll put it this way, the lust for power that is around us. We should never underestimate. People will do anything to grab and to hold on to power. And that, for me, I think was a surprise, partly because maybe I'm just naive. Maybe I'm just naive in my default position of thinking good of people. But I was surprised by the incredible lust for power. And you know, we had an election in 2015, and we were promised many things, and then the lust for power took over. And the extent to which it was manifested and the extent to which it hurt so many people, I think was for me a surprise. And it was a wake-up as to the importance of both the individual courage, which I was so happy to witness from so many, some in this room, some not in this room, some, let me name this young man, Abdul Nondo, who continues to display true citizenship, you know. That was the other, I suppose, the other surprise, that there will be individuals who, in the face of tremendous odds and threats, will still stand up and fight for and say the truth. So that for me was a negative surprise and a positive surprise. I'll end with the other positive surprise. I didn't know how much fun it would be to work in civil society. Honestly. You know, for various reasons. I think number one, I used to be a banker, you see. Nobody wakes up to go to a bank filled with passion. Well, at least I didn't. And I don't. But I woke up every day filled with passion for the work of civil society because it's so meaningful.
Passport.
It's just a lot of fun. And so part of the fun is the people you interact with, the networks you build, the good trouble that you make together. You know, that's good stuff, you know. But I think the most important surprise was how much I have grown with this family of civil society, fellow travelers. I have really, I've changed, transformed from when I was, 10 years ago to now. And it has been, as I said to many, many people, and I'll say it again, the most meaningful professional engagement I've had in my life. And so that was a fantastic surprise and lots of fun.
Thank you very much. Shukran sana.
Asante sana.
Shukran sana. Now tunaweza kukaribisha sasa ukae kidogo, halafu tutakukaribisha at the end tuweze kuzungumza na wewe. So now we are going to give you the task ya kusikiliza, halafu baadaye utakuja kutupatia summary. Recognizing more and more people arriving in the room, I was getting nervous because we have questions prepared for them, and then I wasn't seeing them as part of the audience, and they are here. Max and Justice, kwa kuja baadaye, sio kwa kuja kwa kuchelewa, kwa kuja baadaye mtapata maswali magumu kidogo. Karibuni sana. Now, it won't be a farewell and a transition kama hata symbolically hatutaifanya iwe hivyo. So now, nimkaribishe our incoming Executive Director, Miss Anna Bwana. Karibu. But kwenye hii panel, nataka nimkaribishe na dada mwingine, not because Anna hawezi kusimama peke yake, lakini ni another fellow troublemaker, kama Aidan alivyosema kwamba tuna troublemakers humu ndani. Another fellow troublemaker ambaye amekuwa a senior staff wa Twaweza for so many years, and she has transitioned to some other roles atatuambia, na now that she has transitioned elsewhere, tunaweza na yeye kumuuliza swali moja zuri sana. Risha, karibu. In the same spirit of democracy, should we keep on standing or do you want to sit? Okay. Okay. So, sasa Anna, karibu. You can take the mic. Violet told us about this gloomy picture, and Aidan built on that, the grim image of democracy, the backsliding of democratic principles, and all of that. But it's not all just grim and gloomy and doom. There could be seeds of hope. As you reflect and as you are transitioning into your position, what are some of these seeds of hope that we really need to grab and maximize on and work on them as we move forward so that we remain focused and energetic and excited about this work? Karibu.
Thank you, Bwana. And just to add on to Aidan's first point, that these questions were sent to us, not just this morning, but half an hour before we were to arrive here. And so I've been spending the past half hour writing notes, which I've now forgotten, on the table. I'll wing it. So, I mean, I think it's very right that it's been a difficult time for civil society, for media, for change agents in the region. But there are some areas where I see reason to keep hoping. And I was telling Aidan earlier that I'm going to try not to sound that I'm in favor of revolution. But some of the things that have given me hope is, if you look at the wider region, we've seen more democratic transitions on the continent than since, I think, 2010. So we had elections in Ghana, in Botswana, in Mauritius, in Senegal, where we saw the opposition step in and take up power. And I don't think that we should underestimate what that means. And I think that, for me, these are signs not just of resilience, but of resilience translating into resistance, and that resistance leading to change and progress. And that gives me a lot of hope. And I think that's a sign of political resilience that we've built up on the continent. Economically as well, I mean, we often feel that life is getting harder, and for many, many people it is. But for example, the East Africa region is projected to lead GDP growth in sub-Saharan Africa. And so I think that's also a sign that there is a level of economic resilience that we have been building up. Now, what this means for especially young people, for women, for those who are more vulnerable, I think that's still debatable. But for me, understanding that there are pockets of resilience and there are systems that have been maturing, that's a sign of hope. A lot of the work that I do right now is with young people, and it's understanding what do young people think, how do they feel, how are they responding to changes in the context. And I think we often speak of apathy, but what I've also learned is that the flip side of apathy is resistance, right? And an understanding and acknowledgement that it's not that we don't want to engage, it's not that we're not interested, but the system is not working for us. And so we're opting out of the system. And I think that's a good sign, because I think it's only when we recognize that the system is not working for us will we actually get pushed to start thinking about, well, how do we change the system? Not just how do we engage with the system, but actually how do we make a system that is working for us? And I think as part of that, you know, what always strikes me is just the amount of humor, creativity that we're constantly bringing to the fore. You know, no matter how hard things get there, we have these pockets that keep inspiring, that keep, I think, giving us reason. And I think the real challenge for Twaweza and for civil society will now be, one, how to understand and leverage these cycles of resistance and resilience, but also how to really harness that creativity, that humor, that passion and energy that especially young people still really have. And how do we translate that into meaningful change that really will change systems and not just look at how to engage or participate?
Thank you very much. And the way, thank you. And the way you have concluded actually is a very nice segue to the question I want to pose to Risha. And then after Risha, I will invite now anyone who would like to engage with what Aidan, Anna, and Risha will have said. Now, the systems are not working for us. And as Aidan said, and I want to quote because I wrote it down, ordinary citizens took it for granted. Citizens had to play our role as expected. And as you transitioned out of Twaweza, you have joined the Justice Systems, an organization that works to transform systems of government and making them work for the people, work for what people care for. Looking at the sorry, I'm going to call it the sorry state of citizen participation and the apathy. But for years, you were a staunch believer in people's agency. Now that you are telling us that we should focus on working on transforming these systems, don't you feel like you have abandoned the people? Karibu.
I don't think these things have to be seen totally in tension with each other. I don't feel that I've abandoned the citizens to go, cozy up to the government. But I think, building a little bit on what Anna said, if you look, for example, at Mozambique, right? A very, our neighbor, such a related kind of political context with the same ruling party. And yet you're seeing there now citizens saying, actually, we've had enough. What prompted that was an election, a democratic process. But the kind of core issue behind it is that people's lives have become difficult. So what we're seeing is that democracy is, we assumed that it would deliver things for us, the things we wanted, better lives, good services. And that isn't and wasn't an automatic process. And actually what you're seeing all over the world, I'll also reference the US as Aidan did. I read this report recently on state capacity in the US, and it's saying basically the problems they have there, everything delays, things take much longer than they're supposed to and that they expect them to. And then they're not getting the outcomes they expect from the projects and processes they're initiating, right? And that's a very similar issue to what we have, right? We're not getting the outcomes. Even when we do good policies, we don't get the outcomes we expect, right? And we're always, kind of feeling like we're behind the times. So I think this question of state capability is really, really important. And inside the state, we think of the government as this kind of entity over here, but actually it's people. They come from all of us, right? There are family members, there are community. We're talking too much. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yes. Thank you. So the government is made up of people as well, and we haven't, I think, invested enough into thinking, how do we really enable them to deliver? We're in a world in which crises are so complex. Climate change requires a kind of negotiation. So
No, now you have to hold the both for the online community.
I can. No, I can do it. It feels a little much. Okay, so so I think we really haven't invested enough in this idea of state capability, and we often think of it as a kind of technical skill. I'm going to go train government officials to do X. Or actually, it's about how they work together to focus on the outcomes. And back to democracy, I think democracy can be really focused on process. It is ultimately about processes, so we have to keep the outcomes very strongly in mind. The outcomes that citizens want, the government can deliver. So to me, it's a kind of negotiated space rather than a trade-off. And I wanted to just make the point around, to close, like accountability and transparency. So this is, these are really important concepts, but again, it's really about process. When we think about accountability, do we ask for what and to whom? And what tends to happen with, for example, when you see a lot of transparency, but no response, no accountability, is that you get this kind of apathy, right? We're just putting things out there and we're not acting on them. Or if we do act on them, what we tend to do is increase what I call compliance reforms for government. So, okay, this money went missing, so we're going to add another check as to make sure the money goes to the right place. But individually, that may be a sensible decision, but when you add up how people in government have to work, get things done, it's incredibly bureaucratic, it's incredibly onerous, and even if they are motivated, it will kill that motivation. We have a lot of studies showing that people who originally go into the public service are incredibly motivated to serve the public, but they go into that system, they find they can't get anything done, and they give up, and they just go with the wind. So to me, I think we need to kind of look at that issue of how government is working and how all of us who are part of government can make that be better. And sometimes that's through contestation, and sometimes it's through a different type of thinking.
Thank you very much, Risha. Thank you, Anna. So there are pockets of hope, pockets of resilience and resistance, and then we can work to transform those systems so that they can work for the people. Now, I want to open the conversation to involve everyone in the room here. So whoever would like to say something, please just raise up your hand and then we'll give you the microphone. If no one raises their hands, I will give it to somebody. Anastasia is pointing to someone. Maybe I should go to that person and just give the microphone. Yeah. Mwalimu Mabala.
So is this called benevolent dictatorship or? Firstly, I'd just like to say you didn't know what to call this. It should be ukariaga. Kukaribisha na kuaga. Ukariaga. Yeah, I was wondering whether to say this. I think in one way today is closing a circle. Because when Anna was working for Oxfam, and Oxfam were really pushing Uragbishi, and she gave Tamasha, the organization I founded for young people, or with young people, a chance to do Uragbishi, including in now the famous district of Mbogwe, which we then did in most of Shinyanga and Simiu, which then went into the Open Government Partnership, which I think is where Twaweza began to notice it, particularly, because we worked with Twaweza and with Zito in Kigoma, which then led to Twaweza taking over and really building on the Uragbishi. So now, to me, when you look at Uragbishi, the first stage is in the community. The second stage is facilitating, because there are a lot of communities which are working together, and they start building their own networks. So you have a horizontal relationship rather than a vertical relationship. And that's when it starts to build into a movement. So I think what Twaweza has done is very powerful. And now we close the circle because the person who set it off when she was working for Oxfam is going to carry it on to the next stage. We're really happy about that. And so speaking for myself, without Twaweza picking up Uragbishi and realizing its connection to open government at all levels, because I remember Nyerere talked in the book on Ujamaa, he talked about the vacuum at community level, and nature abhors a vacuum. So where the citizens don't pick it up, that's when you get petty dictators at every level who then support increasing dictatorship all the way up to the top. So Uragbishi is a way of actually reinvigorating citizenship, and I totally agree with Anna. The young people are not cynical. The young people are, if you'll forgive my French, they're pissed off. But once you give them a chance, they do amazing things. The problem is no one ever gives them a chance. So to me, actually the future of Uragbishi, and maybe even the future direction of Twaweza, is to really start working with young people more and more and giving them, there are so many things they can do in community. Within Uragbishi, within different things, we have all these 3,400 committees run by people who are overworked and they're having to look after their families. When all the young people are just sitting there, they have nothing to do. And that's why we, always for us, we try to choose young people, or we say to the community, we want the Uragbishi to be young people, because then they can take over a lot of things and they can make a lot of things happen. I hope I haven't gone off point. And thank you for surprising me.
Asante sana kwa kushiriki katika huu ukariaga. Na tunajifunza mengi kutoka kwako. Asante sana. I'll give it to another person. Actually, Anastasia was pointing at you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good to be part of this Ukariaga. What a beautiful day. Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm going to touch on a bit of what Aidan said, and also Anna, and also Mwalimu Mabala. I think the major problem that we grapple with is how do we make citizens actually feel part of the civil society. Because in as much as we feel like citizens do not want to involve with the government processes, but also citizens are very adamant to engage with the civil society. I remember when these laws came in to sort of slap the civil society, we were asking ourselves, but we're fighting ourselves here. But we're doing the work of the people. Where are the people? Why are people not coming to defend us? So there's that another big portion, very big and a very relevant question. When you speak to young people, they will tell you these people are pushing their own interests, and maybe for their own economic interests and political ambition sometimes. They even mentioned that actually people in the civil society use it as a bridge to go closer to power and then later to benefit from the incentives that comes with it. So I think it's also very critical in as much as we are thinking of the measures and strategies to tap into the human innovation and creativity of the young people, so that we can bring them on board to engage with the government processes. But I think it's also very important and pertinent to get your views. I think this is just a big question, but it's important to continue reflecting on how do we create stronger linkages between civil society and the actual people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victoria. Maybe one more person? And then I'll give Risha and Anna 1 minute each to wrap it up as Vitali akiandaa. Oh, someone right behind me. Because nilikuwa nimemwona mzee Uto. Sasa, niende kwa mzee Uto, nibaki kwa kijana. Kijana. Wewe mwenyewe ni mzee.
Thank you. My name is Muhyiddin Changwe from the University of Dar es Salaam. I teach political science, particularly in the field of international relations. Hearing about the question of agency, for me, is very interesting because the field of international relations is very statist, like state is the main actor. And when you talk about agency, we are talking about the agents of the state vis-a-vis, say, I mean, in its foreign relations. But in connection with what Anna was talking about, these pockets of hope or resistance, if you like, I think it's refreshing to see citizens exercising some kind of agency that we hope that it will inform, for example, our foreign policy or our policies when it comes to investment, for example. So recently you had a situation in Karibu, for example, where you have these traders, I would say, exercising some kind of agency, complaining about the influx of foreign traders in Karibu. Or there was a story that was reported by the Chanzo, I think, in the mining sector in Kahama, where you have these small-scale miners complaining about the influx of these foreign traders who are manipulating the legal system to get access to the mine. So in the context of hope, I think it's refreshing to see this kind of some kind of a citizen agency that is being exercised by ordinary people, really. Second is more for a question to Aidan and the Twaweza people, because sometimes talk of civil society as this benign actor, you know. But I'm aware that there is a struggle between and among civil society, say, organizations themselves. And so my curiosity is to understand how this manifests, for example, in the work that Twaweza is doing, in the context of these internal struggles within civil society. And Victoria was talking about some of them actually not really civil society in the context of representing and the people's agenda and pushing for change. So I'm curious to understand how this manifests and what Twaweza is faring in that struggle within the civil society itself.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shangwe. And to your question, if Risha and Anna would like to respond, please feel free. However, we do have speakers who have been assigned that question in particular, reflecting on the dynamics of the civil society as a sector. And I'm just going to announce them so that they can take into consideration what Shangwe has posed in that question. And those speakers are Justice, Halifa, and Mwanahamisi Singano, aka Mishi. And they will speak to that question as well. Nataka nikupe nafasi ya upendeleo. Sekunde 30, karibu.
Asante sana. Kwa nafasi ya upendeleo. Mimi, I wanted to say something, that governments all over the world, for them to function, they need the people to hold them accountable. Our problem is we are not holding our governments accountable. And therefore, we are leaving them to behave the way they are behaving. And unless we change the citizens, believe me, nothing will happen. Why am I saying this? If you go to our Constitution, Article 8, it says the government's power is derived from the people. That is in the Constitution. But my problem with our society, we have a society from all ages, and this one I observed it, literally, when I was the Controller and Auditor General. You will come up with very good recommendations for action. But believe me, once your report comes out, nobody, not even a civil society organization, will take it up and make it an issue. So sometimes I was wondering, and this is really the driving force which made me start Wajibu. Was, you know, for 8 years when I was the CAG, I was saying it's wrong for members of parliament to be appointed into board directorships of public institutions because it creates a conflict of interest. Who supported him on that? Nobody. Nobody. Not a single NGO or CSO. So when I remember Zito, when we had that vibrant parliament, things were different. Tanzanians, how can we allow our pillars of governance? The checks and balances are not there. Because if we have a total majority in parliament, how will the people's concerns be discussed? While if there is any controversial issue, there is that party politics. So I'm saying, really, it's the responsibility of CSCOs, I think, to enlighten Tanzanians, citizens, that the resources being used by the government, they are their resources. And if we know that, if somebody is walking around and some people are vandalizing a school, they will make noise. But the way things are today, wait, Hainusu how? While it is your property. So the CSOs, we have a big task, really, of changing the people's understanding and attitude, particularly so on government resources. That includes the physical infrastructures and the monies. And once the CAG reports comes out, let's all get interested in doing an analysis and really assisting the people to understand what the CAG is saying or what PPRA they are talking about, how our procurements are handled in this country. Thank you.
Asante sana Mzee Uto. Thank you so much. Sasa Risha na Anna, karibuni as Vitali anaset. Alafu Risha na Anna wakimaliza, tutasikiliza kwa ukimya kabisa Vitali anatuambia nini. So this is your chance to engage with everything or anything that has been said, but also a chance to talk to or to talk about Aidan. For you too, I'm giving you that chance, if you want to now, to talk about or to talk to Aidan as part of your concluding statement. Who would like to go first?
Okay, well, I have a lot to say to Aidan, but let me let me start with the issues we've discussed. So I think lots of really important points have been made. Wanted to shout out on the constituency piece around civil society. Who are we speaking for and to and about? I think is super important. We need to kind of look in the mirror and reflect on ourselves and how we can kind of be more connected to our constituencies. And just lastly to say on the the state and the idea of the state capability again. I'm reading there's this kind of new body of work called relational state capacity. And it's basically arguing that the ability of the government to get anything done, anything, is based on the type of relationship it has with its citizens. If the government, I heard about a free vaccination program for cows in Kenya that was not taken up because all the farmers were like, we don't trust our government. What vaccination are they giving us? We're not taking it. So really that relationship is actually at the core of everything. And I think that's kind of what everybody said. Aidan. I think, there is a lot to say, but let me just say, I think you kind of highlighted as you spoke. I want to really thank you for incredibly selfless and inspirational leadership for all those years. There was never a time that you came into the office, no matter what was happening, that we didn't see a smile on your face, that we didn't see the energy to do the work, to fight for people's rights. And I think that's such a powerful example. I think that helped all of us to navigate any fear or concern that we would have had. And it really is a testament to kind of you personally that was able to happen. And I think the way you let all of us grow and be kind of the best versions of ourselves. And I think that's the essence of good leadership, is not just kind of imposing yourself, but saying we rise together. And so for that, I really, really, really want to thank you. I appreciated my time with you very, very deeply. I know all my colleagues did as well. And we're so excited for your next step, to see you achieving amazing things where you go, and we'll be following your journey. Thank you so much.
So just to wrap up a bit some of my thinking around the issues, and one of the things that I found really interesting is thinking back around the animation journey that I started now 15 years ago. Was it 15 already? 2010, July 2010 in Shinyanga, which is a very exciting time to be in Shinyanga. You know, it was in the run-up to elections that were heated, that were contested, that had young people engaging and storming polling stations and things like that. So there was something in the air, I think, in 2010. And I think through that process, one of the questions we often had, and I think we still have, is, so there are all these actions happening. There are all these ripples, but what do they add up to? And I think we keep getting stuck with that question about how do we get that scale? How do we move from pockets of actions to a movement? And I think that's still a very important question. But I think what I've also learned over the past 15 years is that the beauty and the importance of those pockets of actions is that we're learning certain behaviors. And democratic participation is a learned behavior. It's not an intrinsic value that we're all born with. It's not automatic that we will know how to engage in such behaviors. And I think being able to have these opportunities for young people and others to learn that behavior should not be underestimated. And I think, again, it's why it's so critical that, you know, we have a generation of young people coming into their political consciousness who are not learning these behaviors. And what we saw with some of the animators in Shinyanga is that they moved on from being community animators to being local leaders. Those that learned democratic behavior were a different type of local leader than those that used the avenue to gain power without having learned that democratic behavior. So sometimes I think we need to give ourselves a break from the idea of scale and think about actually some of the intrinsic progress that's happening as we engage in these behaviors, in these processes, no matter how small it feels. And on that note of no matter how small it feels, you know, going to my few words for Aidan, because when I hear all the feedback about Aidan, you know, it's very easy to feel very small because, you know, he is larger than life, and I think he reflects leadership values that the rest of us continue to aspire to, and we hope to fill and grow those shoes a little bit. But Aidan and I have engaged in civil society on and off for many years. Some tough memories, I remember with TMF and others, and some more exciting, interesting memories over the past 5-6 years, where often we found ourselves, and with others like Maxence, you know, having conversations about the state of democracy, and we all had to put our phones outside the rooms. We had these conversations because it wasn't safe to keep your phones on and talk about the state of democracy in the country. And I think the one thing that Aidan always showed me was the need to move away from what the problem is to what's the solution that we're going to work towards. You know, it was very easy for people like me to be very gloomy, and I think that's where part of the situational awareness comes from. You know, we can be very quick at identifying what the risk is and that something is going wrong, but you need people like Aidan who can say, yes, we know that, so what are we going to do about it? What can we still do about it? And Aidan really showed me the importance of doing that, and I hope I'll be able to keep that spirit with me, Aidan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much, Risha. And as I'm about to invite Vitaly, as Anna, you were talking about your journey with Uragibishi, the animation work, I was looking at Jacqueline from Swiss Development Corporation, SDC. SDC has been one of our funders at Twaweza. So it's not like I'm recognizing her presence here because they have been funding us. It could be because of that, but that is not the main reason. The main reason is she pushed us, when we traveled with her to the field, she pushed us responding to the question of, yes, Twaweza, you have demonstrated that this participatory action research, this promotion of citizen agency, the Uragibishi work, it works in these communities. but just a few communities where you have been able to do this work. And I think you called it islands of happiness. You have your islands of happiness. When are you going to spread so that we see this impact spreading across the country? So hearing what Anna is promising, that they have been grappling with that question for over 15 years, then you should know we will continue thinking about how we can achieve impact at scale. And if you have money, you can give us so that we go and we do it. Okay? Vitali, karibu.
Watasikia. We mama mkandani, toka nje usikie, kutwa we kila siku ndani, toka basi usikie. Nawe kaka ughaibuni, rudi Afrika usikie. Wewe miaka yote mbalio, rudi basi usikie. Kuna habari inavuma, vuma vuma vuma, vuma vuma vuma, vuma vuma vuma, vuma vuma vuma. Uko Nguja mawe, uko Nguja mawe, kuna mtu kasimama kwenye kona ya jahazi, anaoji uhalali wa muungano, na mwingine kasimama juu ya kidau chake, analilia nchi yake, analilia Zanzibari. Huku bara nako kuna mtu kasimama juu ya kaburi lake, analilia roho yake, analilia Tanganyika. Vuma vuma vuma, vuma vuma vuma, vuma vuma vuma. Safu safu wanapita, wamejaa kwenye mitaa, na mabango wameshika, ama wanalilia katiba yao, wanalilia tume yao, wanalilia haki zao. Na wengine wanajipanga waje wadai mlima wao, watadai mbuga zao, watadai migodi yao. Na wengine wanajipanga kuzuia maandamano, watawaua na wenzao. Kumbe imekwisha, kumbe imetoweka amani, kumbe imepita, kumbe haina hodi vita, kumbe imefika. Viongozi wanajivunia kuwa Watanzania, wananchi tunavumilia, tumechoka kuwa Watanzania. Nchi imetiwa giza, macho yana kiu ya nuru, kumbe si demokrasia, kumbe ni demokrasia, kumbe si demokrasia, kumbe ni demokrasia.
demonstration of greatness. We mama mkandani, toka nje usikie. We kaka ughaibuni, rudi Afrika usikie. Kuna habari inavuma. Vuma, vuma.
Asante sana brother Vitaly. Asante mno. Kuna mtu muhimu sana aliingia ukumbini, ila sikutambua kuingia ukumbini. Nilitaka kwanza asikilize vuma. Ni profesa waziri mwenye dira yake. Karibu sana Profesa Kitila. Tutakupa nafasi baadaye uzungumze, alafu tujue kama ni tuna demokrasia au democracia, democracy ama democrazy. Utatuambia. Profesa Kitila naye tutamkaribisha baadaye azungumze, lakini atakuwa wa mwisho, na yeye ndio pekee ambaye swali lake sikumtumia, na atalipata atakapochukua microphone. Kwa hiyo ajiandae. So now we would like to continue with these intellectual conversations, na sasa hivi nitawaomba wazungumzaji tujitahidi kuwa brief kidogo. Unajua panel iliyopita Risha tumefanya naye kazi, kwa hiyo ni mgeni lakini pia ni kama bosi wangu. Alafu anakuja kuwa bosi wangu, nianze kumkatisha muda. Kwa hiyo mnaokuja mjiandae. Nitakuwa ninawakatisha kidogo time. Na waomba wafuatao ili tuweze kuengage na lile swali, na building on that question ya civil society and the work that we do, our relevance, our legitimacy, what are your reflections on that? Kama mtu kama Aidan anasema alitoka kuwa banker, akaja akaingia kwenye hii sekta na akajifunza mengi, na anasema kwamba amegrow. You have been in this sector as well. How can we continue making this sector impactful na attractive kwa watu wengine pia waweze kujoin for the social cause, the social impact that we want to achieve? Na watakao tuchokozea ama watakao tuchokoza katika hii mada, tuna Justice from Foundation for Civil Society, karibu. Khalifa, mhariri mwenye chombo chake kinaitwa The Chanzo. Halafu tuna Dadamishi, Mtanzania wa kwanza to address the UN General Assembly akiwa amevaa abaya. Watajitambulisha wenyewe. Ameamua kukaa. It's okay. Sijui wenyewe. Halifa anauliza labda wakuweke katikati. Kulikuwa na ngazi upande ule. Sorry. Haya, kuzungumza, nani angependa kuanza?
Asante sana Barwani. Good afternoon everyone. Still morning, good morning. Kwanza ni correct Barwani, mimi pia hujanitumia hili swali lolote. Nimelikuta hapa. Yeah, so very interesting discussions. Let me first begin by saying this is very interesting for me because I have my foundation at Twaweza. I joined Twaweza when I was 23 years old. As the country program officer for Tanzania. Sijui Rakesh alikuwa nafikiria nini to put such a level of trust on such an infant in the sector. But I've grown in the sector considerably, obviously having, going to a level where I'm leading now Foundation for Civil Society. Recently, we've had very in-depth assessment of what are the true foundations of civil society, as the name suggests, yeah? What is the foundation for civil society? If I ask you what you know foundation for civil society for, mostly it's grants, right? So money is kind of the foundation for civil society that we've built over the last 20 years plus. But what about questions of legitimacy? Do we truly have a constituency? And I think broadly, we judge civil society's effectiveness and impact by a number of questions, and one of them is ultimately, are people better off as a result of civil society? Are people healthier? Are people happier? Are they more agentic? Much as there are pockets of hope and pockets of impact and effectiveness, broadly, the answer to that question is no. Now, I've also gone through that evolution from being a very big believer in agency and what agency can do to this country. But now my reflections are a bit more complex when it comes to that. And why am I saying that? It's because in these reflections, one thing that I realize is that the foundations of the civil society that we know right now are based on a very neoliberal idea that, you know, maybe perhaps the state doesn't have that much capability. So we need the market to intervene. We need the market to be working, to be flourishing. Open the market. You remember the structural adjustment days, and then we need civil society to play two roles. One, to be a watchdog. Allow me to say that is not a very good name for civil society, by the way. We should not be called mbwa, right? In any case, to either be a watchdog or to offer an alternative to government, in the sense that we start providing services where government cannot provide services. That is not a very sustainable way to approach it. Civil society should not be providing services. So as part of that evolution, what I've come to right now is the realization that, as Risha was talking about, that we really need to reclaim government as a force that works for the people of Tanzania. And how do we do that? So I think one of the things we need to do is correct our orientation in terms of how we relate with government. This watchdog role that we've played over the years has made us see government as not really as an expression of us, but as an external force that is only there to be opposed because they don't know really what they're doing. So they need to be opposed, they need to be challenged at every given point. So that is one thing that we need to correct in our orientation. And to be able to do that effectively, I see Bwana is looking at me. I think there are two mindsets and muscles that we need to develop. One of them is we need to move away from that culture of problematizing everything to a culture of offering solutions. Yeah? And waziri yuko hapa, juzi hapa ametupatia nafasi ya kutengeneza version ya dira ya Kiswahili, dira ya taifa, sisi kama civil society, but it's because of the level of trust that we are able to build with him to be able to allow him to do that. So that is something we need to be able to do. We need to develop our analytical capability to offer, to yes, problematize, but also offer solutions to government. Then two, we need to go back to true organizing. Right now, money has really polluted the way we work, yeah? Everything we need to do has to be supported by a big budget, by posho. We are sort of mimicking government and how government works. So that is one thing we also need to do. By and large, let me say from where I sit with Anna coming into this position, let me also say that I met Anna when she was implementing Chukua Tour when I was at Twaweza. Very big, bold ideas. I'm very excited to see where this is going. Asante.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't really know if I'm the right person to be here. You know, I've never worked in NGO. So, but I'm going to say whatever I wanted to say, you know. Yes, I'm a journalist, so more of an observer than of an actor in the NGO. I think NGOs or civil societies in their broader sense, they are relevant, okay? They're legitimate. And the issues that they champion, you know, the changes that they seek are relevant to people's daily struggles, and, you know, the victories for CSOs are the victory for the people. So we just heard here Aidan talking about the Twaweza thing, okay? Its engagement with the government ultimately benefited the people. But for me, there are two fundamental issues that I think bring the relevances and the legitimacy into question. And because I have very limited time, I want to talk about the issue of consistency and the way we deal with the power. The issue of consistency is, like, for example, you have CSOs or NGOs that works in human rights issues, freedom of expression, or democracy issues. But the way they operate, it is as if some human rights do not matter, or some human rights of some people do not matter. For example, it really strikes me as extraordinary when you observe a collective silence when the state, the government of Tanzania, for example, represses on people like, for example, sex workers, the so-called prostitutes. This is an outright violation of their basic and fundamental human rights, and these are human beings, they're very vulnerable people. And then you have organizations, you have civil society organizations that speak louder that we care about the human rights, we care about the dignity of people. But when it comes to this particular group of people, these people who are extremely vulnerable, people that are extremely in a precarious condition, and you don't see any organization coming out, or you see a very few of them coming out to stand in solidarity with these people, saying that this is wrong, that this is not acceptable. And to me, it is extremely extraordinary when you observe the, you know, collective silence of everyone who champions about human rights and say, how is it that my human rights matter, but not of this particular person? And you know, when you observe that, you arrive at a point where you question the genuineness or the seriousness of these people that claims to be promoting human rights. And of course, I know there are things that are sensitive. You know, we are relatively conservative society, but my understanding is that human rights are universal. If human rights means anything to me, it has to mean everything to anyone else. So for example, to me, and because we are here, I believe this is a safer space. You know, someone may not like that Khalifa, for example, is gay, okay? Or Mariam, for example, is a lesbian, or that, but these are human beings. And if you care about the human rights, when you see, for example, the government, the state, the police harasses and violates the fundamental rights of these people, and you fail to stand in solidarity with these people just because of how they identify yourself, I'm sorry to say, you know, it really gives me a hard time to say that this guy believes in human rights, because human rights are universal rights, and they have to apply equally to everyone, no matter how they identify themselves, no matter how they make their lives with. And so, on the issue of consistency, you say, you care about human rights of Maasai, for example, but you don't care about human rights about this particular group, and that to me is problematic. So that's on the issue of our consistency. The other issue I wanted to say is how we deal with power. And just here say that we should change the approach of problematizing, you know, like we shouldn't point out a problem. And I don't think we do that. I mean, I don't see NGOs doing that, to be honest. Because I think, the way I say things is, the major problem that we have, at least from my perspective, in this country, is the power. How do those people with the power get those power, and how they exercise that power, and for whose interest is that the power exercised. And so for me, I would expect that if you are a CSO actor, if you are an activist, I would be more interested to see you standing up to power and how it is abused or how it is used than seeing you causing up with it. Because we don't have many problems that we have in this country relate with how the power is being used at the national level. You know, just now we see the government harassing opposition politicians. They have just arrested Tundu Lissu for I don't know what crime. And I think those are the problems that we have in this country. At the national level, and you go at the regional level, you go at the district level, even at the village level. And if you have a CSO sector that is busy causing up this power, you know, trying to present itself as a friend to power, instead of challenging it, instead of, you know, standing up to these power abuses, I don't think if we will be able to reach to the goal that we seek. You know, there's this artist, it's a rapper, he's called J. Cole, he's my favorite rapper, and he has this song called Love Yours. And in that song, there is a line that says, the good thing is you went a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. Yeah, so, yeah, of course, it doesn't matter if the poster is in this direction and you go to this direction. It doesn't matter even if you go to Uganda. It is still you are in the wrong, you are on the wrong way. It doesn't matter how long you go on that way. And I think if we will be busy causing a power, you know, trying to, because first of all, they don't care. Still he's here. You know, they really don't care. They will collect your opinions, your views, and they will come up with totally different things. So I think the best approach to me will be standing up to these people instead of causing them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Had to top up that. So possibly a few things before I respond to the question. One, when Halifa was talking about how we isolate issues like these issues but doesn't matter, this issue matters. It reminds me that at one point in my active life, because of that frustration, I wrote an article. It's called "We Are All Prostitutes." It's in Udadisi. I really invite you to read that. It just clicked me that we are all prostitutes in its cause. It's quite an exciting article. Looking back, I feel I did the part on behalf of the civil society, at least. Right, take that bullet. And I think a few other things, but one, that was Dera, not Abaya. There is a huge difference between Dera and Abaya. It was Dira. So it was intentionally that it was Dira, not Abaya. And also I think for me, I'm here like Halifa. The only reason that I'm here, Halifa doesn't know why he's here. I know why I'm here because I protested having panels on this event. Say like, this is farewell and welcome. Can we just have fun, you know, and send farewell and welcoming Anna rather than having like endless conversation and before you know it, I was invited to come here. So, and the last cue I want to ask, unfortunately, I have a very limited English bundle per day, and I have to use my English later in the day for my day job. Is there any reason that you need to stick to English, or you can switch on to Swahili? Oh, okay. So, all right. All right. So I'll try, and I will need to balance so that my bundle doesn't end before the day ends. So I think in relation to the question that I will send a question, but I'll start with this one, and then I will just do like a minute on the question that was sent earlier, if that's okay. With regard to the civil society, so I have worked all my life in the civil society. I've never worked anywhere else. I used to sit with Anna when just behind me, like we are back to back. We always turn tables and it's like, what's happening? What is happening in Shinyanga? But now she's a new incoming ED, and I'm here. I need to do better, I think. So thank you for inspiring us. I think one of the important stage in solving any problem is recognizing that there is one. And it's us in the civil society to recognize and the reality that civil society is not a silver bullet. It's not. And it will not be a silver bullet. And especially now that the civil society, or what is called now the aid complex industry, is just another industry. If we track back the history of the civil society, how it started, how it was started in the West, and the reason for the civil society to start in the West, it was for tax benefits, literally, by that time. And it was brought here, and in most cases, I think in most of our countries, civil society took place after 1990s, after the global movement, either of the Beijing, of Rio Convention. There was a moment in 1990s where a lot of international, multilateral delivered a lot of a progressive landmark decision, which activated a lot of things, and also the shift from the global north on where they are channeling the resources. So all of it, in one way or the other, it has an external factor to it. In most of our countries, when it started, I think Shifty has quite been vocal around it, saying civil society in the beginning was just NGO was a short form word, nothing going on, or new government officials. It was just that. Those were two famous short forms that Chachage pointed out, nothing going on in new government officials. And in new government officials, especially on the era of service delivery, when the resources were coming in for AIDS, for orphans, and because the government officials knew that now the system was changed, most of the governments want to channel these resources not to the government, to the other NGO. Most of them ended up opening NGO and to tap those resources. And we get to the point, so in between, then we radicalize civil society. Some of us with the passion and energy came in. We feel that we're going to change the world. We do all the radical stuff. And it didn't last long until the movement was institutionalized, right? And all of us were forced to specific log frame, specific proposal writing format, specific matrix, specific skill sets that we need to have in the organization. And because of that, those people who had power and willing and vision to do the work were left out because you don't have the degrees, you don't have certificate to do the work. And we end up having civil society as just a day job. We hire people just because they meet certain criteria, etc. And because we need people, even in our organization today, even the radical ones, they will tell you, we need like somebody from private sector to do resource mobilization, yeah? And you bring in somebody from private sector to do resource mobilization because they know how to write a good proposal. But what they also know that they don't have your language, they don't have your vision. So they dilute all of that to this is specific, like this is what the donor wants to see in the proposal, use this language, this is the kind of activities, And before we know it, all our activities ended up in hotel room, fancy banners. Now you cannot differentiate civil society event vis-a-vis corporate event. We are all competing for pictures with the highest level, etc., etc. That's the state of the civil society that we are in. If we need to change that, we need to recognize that there is a problem. We cannot blame the citizen that they don't engage in the civil society. I'm fully paid for the work that I do. I cannot expect somebody to leave their income generating activities and livelihood to come and do the work that I'm paid for on my term, because I have to report to the donor how I organize these activities. So they have to stop to do what they're doing to come and do the work for me so that I can get my salary, I can increase the revenue from my organization, I can have fancy reports. Often we use their pictures, even we're not paying them to use their pictures, yeah? It's like we took, it's like we just, now we have this fancy form, like consent. Can you sign a consent to take your pictures? Yes, a sign to take a picture, but I didn't sign that my face is on your front page of your report, you know? And all that, like we instrumentalized people. And that's the problem with the civil society. And I'm saying that with a lot of humility because I still work in the civil society. And I think if us in the civil society don't recognize the harm that we are doing, then we are not changing. And we cannot wait for people outside the civil society to tell us what's wrong with us because we are the one who know what's wrong with us. And I think linking that to the whole conversation around the democracy and how people are not taking positions. In any democratic processes, I think there is institution of democracy. Of course, there is a political parties, there is civil society. Specifically to our country, for example, we have made the political work extremely difficult because we only let politicians to do everything that they need, that us, we should have done. You know, like politicians, they have role and mandate to lead their members. But now, because there is absence of trade union voices, there is absence of citizen voices and protest, there is absence of teachers or civics. Now politicians have to do all of it. And it's become critically impossible because we don't do our work. And we keep on saying why citizens are not taking part because we are not doing anything. We are expecting the political party to come and say this woman has been violated. We are expecting the political party to say why there is tozo is increasing, like all that stuff. So that is the problem. And I hope, Anna, you're coming in, you're going to solve that problem. Not just for Twaweza, but for the entire civil society ecosystem. And I think one of the way that Twaweza specifically can put a dent on that, Twaweza, unlike most of the civil society, you are investing a lot on research. I think there needs to be honest conversation and research on the state of the civil society in Tanzania. And this is not in the name of weakening the civil society, but to have those honest conversations. And we can curate those conversations that we can start in having those conversations. We can have empirical data, and we can engage other actors and looking at the way in which that struggle can connect. That one. Into the Sauti za Wananchi come with like 7% on the things that we like, yeah? But we invest on the 30% on why there is a growing dissent, why there is citizens behaving like this. So I think integrating citizen agency, and here I would really like to appeal to an institution like Twaweza and other research entities to also look at it not from just political point of view, but also from sociological and anthropological point of view. To echo Anna's point that behavior changing, and it's not like society doesn't operate on autopilot. Yeah, I was revisiting because I was just stunned after re-election of Trump, and it was like, what is happening, you know? And they come across this theory, anthropological theory by Victor Turner. It's called luminality. I don't think you have seen it. It's quite an interesting theory, and it speaks on the world is on transition. So luminality is the stage, the rite of passage, like between one stage to the other. You know, like between being a child and being adult, like that stage in between, in the rite of passage. So now they've taken that theory and put it in the global context of global politics, and to build a whole body of knowledge of structured and unstructured, how people appeal to unstructured society, their desire to have no authority, their desire to protest, and all of it. And it shows that potentially the problem that we are facing as a country is not just unique to Tanzania. Like, we are seeing those patterns across the world. And if we are seeing that countries across the world, then it comes to us to understand how society reacts and what value does society put on a certain issues, etc. So I think there is a value not just to look at the citizen participation from the political perspective, but also to interrogate how society move and invest a lot on using anthropological approaches and methodologies to understand how a society work. And I think out of that, Twaweza not only will serve the organization, but also create the base, or will create resources that other organizations can use to advance democracy in Tanzania. So with that, back to you, Bwana.
Thank you very much to the three of you. Thank you so much. Mimi kazi yangu leo is very simple, just passing on the mic. Kwenye Kiswahili tunasema kaanga mbuyu, acha wenye meno watafune. You just ask them the questions and then they will respond. Now, because we are a little bit pressed with time, nitawaomba mrejee and then we will engage, but after the next three speakers, ambayo ndio our last panel, because we continue these conversations on the same topic. So I am going to kindly ask you to go back. Thank you so much. So continuing with the conversations on the same topic, democracy building, citizen agency, reflecting on our own sector, civil society, etc. And as you are digesting the critical feedback that you have received from someone who claims not to be from the NGO world and someone whose life is entirely in the NGO world. To continue the same spirit, tunawakaribisha wengine watatu. Max, I'm about to call you to go to the stage and you are going in that direction. Mfano wa Halifa. Mimi nakuita kwenye stage, wewe sijui unaenda wapi. Karibu kwenye stage. Ulikuwa umeshaenda mbali but in the wrong direction. Karibu sana. Dada Jane Magigita, karibu. Max, wewe swali lako ndio unalisikia sasa hivi kwa mara ya kwanza. Kuna matumizi ya teknolojia and uweza matumizi ya teknolojia kweli it's becoming instrumental in the fight for democracy, citizen agency, etc. Or is it now becoming an illusion? Because yes, there is a lot of evidence of how citizens have used different forms of technology to mobilize and organize, such as the Gen Z in Kenya, and how they translate, using AI, translating the finance bill and communicating and composing, etc., etc. But at the same time, we know with the use of technology, the likes of Professor Kitila na wenyewe wanazitumia the very same technologies to increase surveillance, to control us, and to silence us at the same time. So, what do you see unfolding this space? You'll be the last one to speak so that you reflect on your question. But Jane Magigita, you already got your question, which is building more and taking us specifically kwa kwamba social movements zinaanzishwa na watu ambao ni passionate, wanafanya kitu fulani. Na wewe umekuwa katika hiyo sekta, lakini tumesikia walichotuambia Halifa na Mishi kwamba tumekuwa so professionalized, etc. But wewe bado upo kwenye hii sekta na bado unafanya kazi na watu ambao wana hiyo passion for bringing the change. How do we balance between the professionalization lakini pia ile passion ya kuleta yale mabadiliko? And the third speaker, nimemkaribisha wa mwisho kwa sababu yeye ndo atakuwa wa kwanza kuzungumza, ni dada Aidan na Nguma Kiangi. Karibu. And dada Aida will take on from where Halifa, I believe, where Halifa and Mishi walipoishia, and recalling one of the things that he once said in a convening we had like this at our old Twaweza offices, and very passionately she said, one doesn't become an activist because they're working for an NGO. So leo tunampa nafasi aendelee kutuchapa, especially on what do you see. You have worked in the civil society sector, but now you are outside the civil society sector. What do you see as some of our glaring blind spots, and how can we improve? But at the same time, now that you are in the corporate world, and recently kumekuwa na a lot of push on the CSO private sector collaboration. Tunashirikiana na Vodacom Foundation, Stanbank na wengineo wengi. How do you see these collaborations and relations unfolding into the future? And are they really going to be working for the people? Or what will they be working for? Whose interest? Karibu.
Asante. I think like everyone else, I was waylaid and then coerced and then brought here at gunpoint. So part of the rejection, or rather walking away, you're seeing from citizens is because we've done badly at this level, and not just with civil society, but also private sector. So that reflection has to happen, and it has to be a candid one before you can say you want to be with the Vodacoms of this world, before you can say you want to be with the Vodacoms of this world, before you want to say that, you know, because our great professor trusts you. Whether he trusts you, I'm not so sure. Whether you're useful might be something you need to ask yourself, which is fine. And for private sector, that's the conversation we're also having, because what we call the private sector is also a collection of traders, for all intents and purposes, industrialists who truly believe in taking this country forward, and rent seekers, who many are the ones we want to take photographs with. So you need to be also careful at that level who you want to be associated with, and are you willing to be an outlier so you can have the integrity, the moral standing to have that conversation and be able to stand for what you believe in. And just to give you a background, because many people think it's just private sector, I actually worked in government. My journey started in government, right? And at 26, I knew very quickly that I'd gone up against power, and then also realized what lust for power looks like. And so this thinking that it's just the last 5-10 years that things fell apart, went off the rails, no, it's been happening for a long time. I think the only difference, we had a shock to our system, and we had to be truthful to ourselves in what we're facing. Now, coming back in terms of the collaborations that we would love to see between private sector and civil society, because we're not essentially different parts of the society, we're just different continuums of the society. It's who are the allies, right? And they're there, whether you're looking within government, we've got a lot of individuals, a lot of agencies that have already been built on that, right? Who is willing to walk that long mile with you? Not to be, because you're going to be good at delivering, we're going to be able to tick the box from private sector, by the way. We do have our boxes that says we involved civil society. And we talk about it in terms of, if you give them an allowance, a package for an allowance, because they love workshops, they'll be happy, let them organize that, that's their thing, right? They know how to handle the per diems for the participants. No, seriously, these are the conversations we have. And then we decide which ones are the most compromised, and we invite them to collaborate because they do like the ribbon cutting. It's as simple as that, and I'm being honest to you. When you're talking about how to collaborate, you have to decide as a sector who and how. If it's for the photo ops, they're there. But if it's for the policy, in-depth discussions on how do you take this country forward and make sure that Tanzania works for us in the long term and not in the short term, then there are other players we need to be speaking to. And many times we don't go there to have those conversations because we're chasing the glitter. And unfortunately, that's where you've lost a lot of us, whether it's the private sector, whether it's the citizens, even people in government who really have extended their, even their own security and safety, even those we've left down. Is there hope? I am still hopeful. I'm not leaving this country. I've got no plan B, right? This has always been my plan. And like Aidan, I'm trying to look for more of the solutions and no more of the problems, but we have to stop being naive. Right? Tanzania did not show up suddenly in the state. We worked hard to get here. So how do we work hard to get ourselves out of this rut? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Naomba niongee kwa Kiswahili. Waganda watanielewa, najua na Wakenya watanielewa. Watajitahidi. Ya, nadhani baruani umenibadilishia swali. Yaani hapo umeibuka na swali lingine tofauti na ulilonipa. Sasa sijui inakuaje. Lakini labda niseme ni share tu experience. Wamesema kwamba kuna usomi versus wasiosoma. Kitu ambacho nimejifunza, sijui ni labda nilipata mentors wazuri wakati naingia kwenye sekta miaka karibu 25 iliyopita. Nilifundishwa namna ya kukaa karibu na watu, kukaa karibu na wananchi, kwa kuwa pia mimi ni mwananchi. Kwa hiyo nilipokuwa founder wa taasisi inaitwa Equality for Growth, nilikuwa na background ya kufanya kazi kama lawyer, kama legal aid provider kwenye skimu nyingine ya wanawake. Na wale mnaofahamu wanaitwa learned brothers and sisters, the way unavaa, the way unaongea. Nini unataka kufanya kwenye jamii iliyokuzunguka? The passion, that passion. Kitu gani? Kwa hiyo mimi kilichonisukuma nilikuwa nikiona wanawake kwenye legal aid scheme wanaulizwa swali moja kwenye form ya registration pale Women Legal Aid Center. Unafanya aina gani ya kazi? Kipato chako ni kiasi gani? Wanawake wanaandika pale, napata 5,000 kwa wiki, napata 30,000 kwa mwezi. Yale maswali yalivyokuwa yanajibiwa yakawa yananipa mimi maswali zaidi. Hivi hawa wanaishije? Hivi hawa wana survive vipi? Kwa hiyo wakati tunaanzisha Equality for Growth 15 years ago, the area that we wanted to engage was engaging with informal of the informal. Watu ambao wanajitafutia, lakini mazingira wanaojitafutia maisha ya kila siku, yani ni wale casual of the casual. Maana yake unamkuta huyu mtu anaingia sokoni, anaamua kutrade, hajui jinsi ya kutrade, hajawahi kuingizwa kwenye seminar, hajui mwenyekiti wa soko ataengage vipi, hajui kitu kinaitwa ushuru, lakini ameamua kwenda kwenye public space na akaengage. Kwa hiyo tunaposema kwamba tunaonekana tumebeba kofia fulani, nadhani tu ni kujua umeenda wapi na umeenda kufanya nini. Unaweza kabisa ukawa sehemu ya jamii na ukamake impact. Sasa nitatoa mifano tu michache ya kawaida. Unaingia kwenye soko Arusha. Wale tuliokuwepo kwenye CSO wiki, tulitembea masoko ya Arusha kwenye CSO wiki ya mwaka juzi na mwaka jana wakati wa wiki ya Azaki. Nakumbuka mimi nilipata fursa ya kwenda kwenye soko moja kubwa sana. Imezungukwa pembeni kuna mahoteli makubwa ya kitalii. Ukifika kwenye lile soko, wanasema soko kubwa juu, soko kubwa chini. Ile soko kubwa juu kuna wafanyabiashara wanauza mboga mboga, zucchini, vegetables, spinach, kila kitu cha namna hiyo. Soko la chini wanauza the same product, vegetables, zucchini na nini. Hili la juu limejaa wanaume watupu na hili la chini limejaa wanawake watupu. Prices za soko la juu walikokaa wanaume, bei ni tofauti na bei za soko la chini. Kwenye the same market, hao wa juu wana supply kwenye hoteli za kitalii, hizo Mount Meru, wapi. Kilo moja ya zucchini ina bei tofauti na kilo moja ya zucchini inauzwa na mwanamke kwenye soko la chini. Kwa hiyo inakwambia kwamba kuna vitu fulani vinaendelea katika jamii, power imbalances. Hizo tunasema ni pay gap inakuwepo hapo. A lot of discrimination kwenye mifumo hata ya kwenye local government level. Natoa mfano mmoja wa hilo soko la Arusha. Kingine, unaingia katika soko kubwa lenye watu 3,000. Vis-a-vis kuna soko lina watu 100. Power dynamics kwenye soko lenye watu wengi na kwenye soko dogo ni tofauti kabisa. Ukiingia kwenye soko kubwa, pale mapato yanayokusanywa ni mengi, ushuru unaokusanywa ni mwingi, fursa za kiuchumi ni nyingi. Mwanamke akigombea kwenye soko kubwa ambalo lina fursa nyingi, lina ushuru mwingi na linaingiza mapato mengi, kushinda kuwa mwenyekiti wa soko ni kama haiwezekani. Lakini akienda kwenye medium size market au soko dogo, smaller size market, akigombea wanaume watamsupport, atapata na wanawake, atagombea, na tumeona wanawake wanakuwa wenye viti wa soko, sio kwenye masoko makubwa. Kwa sababu gani? Sehemu ambako kuna resources, sehemu ambako kuna fursa, wanaume wana speed kuingia pale. Hata kama anasema mimi siwezi kuuza mboga mboga, lakini kama soko lina fursa ya resources, mwanaume anaingia kwenye sekta ya mboga mboga kwa sababu pale kuna fedha. So when it comes about monetary value, ina drive hizo patriarchy system na power dynamics na gender inequalities kwa sababu ya hayo maeneo. Mfano wa 3, mwanamke anakuwa empowered, anafahamu soko letu linaingiza ushuru kila wiki milioni 50. Hizi pesa zinazokusanywa zinaenda wapi? Mbona choo ninachotumia na tundu ninalotumia la choo hakifanani na mapato ya soko? Anaamua kwenda kuuliza. Naingia kwa mwenyekiti wa soko, naomba nijue mapato ya hapa ni kiasi gani. Kama raia tunasema citizen agency. Akishaanza kuuliza tu maswali yale, haya mapato yanakusanywaje, yanaenda wapi, mbona sioni yanarudi? Kuna study fulani tumefanya na wajibu nzuri kabisa kuhusu namna ushuru wa masoko unawezaje kurudi ukaboresha miundombinu. Akianza kuuliza maswali magumu, yule mwanamke yuko prone to eviction. Atanyang'anywa kizimba, atafukuzwa sokoni. Kwa hiyo kuna issue pia ya create safe spaces na security kwa wale ambao wanakuwa change agents wanapoamua kutoka kwenda kuleta mabadiliko. Mfano mwingine wa 4, informal sector sisi tunaitazama kama part ya private sector kwa sababu inasukuma engine, ni kama engine ya private sector. Hata kama natumia mifano, hata kama ni Mohamed Enterprise au Mo, atatengeneza sabuni, atatengeneza mafuta, atatengeneza ice cream na vitu fulani, anawategemea hao wachuuzi wa chini kutoboa. Na hii ni realities, wanaosukuma vitololi, wanaoshika, wanatembea barabarani kwenye highways. Tumeona idadi kubwa ya wachuuzi wa kike na wa kiume wamejaa kwenye highways zetu. Kwa hiyo tunapoongelea kwamba kuna public private sector dialogue, tunazungumza kwamba part of the private sector kwenye value chain ni pamoja na hawa wa chini ambao wanaonekana hawana maana, lakini ndio wana make the engine going. Kwa hiyo hii pia ni debate kubwa kwamba wanapokuwa katika mazungumzo ya kunegotiate, whether it's about kodi, kuhusu ushuru, tozo, nafuu za kibiashara, namna gani hawa wataingia kwenye dialogue na wakaongea kwa lugha yao wakaeleweka, kwa sababu pia hawajasoma kihivyo. Hawa ni semi literate ambao wamemaliza la 7, wamelambalamba kidogo form 4, lakini sasa hivi tumeona wimbi kubwa la vijana wasomi na wasichana wasomi wameingia kwenye uchuuzi. Kwa hiyo sasa hivi yule Asha aliyeko soko la Kigongo la Mboto pale na darasa la 7 yake ana techniques za kuimarket nyanya yake ikatoboa pale. Lakini sasa hivi amekuja kijana mwingine au dada mwingine msomi, ana bachelor of marketing, si ndio? Amefundishwa namna ya kumarket biashara, jinsi ya kuengage na watu wakubwa, kuingia kwenye maofisi kunegotiate, anakuja na additional skills. Anakutwa yule mama yuko pale, yeye hana kitu cha ziada. Kwa hiyo tunaongea kundi kubwa la watu ambao mfumo tu utawatema kwa sababu ya gap kubwa ya unemployment. Vijana wetu wanaingia kwenye spaces ambazo walikuwepo watu ambao hawajasoma, sasa hivi wana venture huko. Kwa hiyo ninapoongea, naona nimeambiwa muda unaenda, nina raise two issues muhimu. Issues are land rights. When we talk about economic rights, haki ya ardhi is very pertinent to a young boy or to a woman, kwa sababu hiyo ndio resource ya kwanza anaweza kumiliki. Na tumesikia kwamba sera ya ardhi imepitishwa juzi, imekuwa launched. One element ya sera ya ardhi pia inasisitiza sasa hivi ardhi iwe productive, lakini pia itaanza kuimpose malipo hata kwa ardhi ya kijijini. Watu wataanza kulipia sasa hivi tozo kama tunavyolipia mjini. Maana yake wengi watasukumwa pia kwenye uwezo wa kumiliki ardhi. Lakini kuna issue za leadership, 50-50 agenda, umuhimu wa wanawake na vijana kuwa kwenye vyombo vya maamuzi kuanzia ngazi ya chini mpaka ngazi ya taifa. Tuna issue pia za negotiation na capacity to negotiate kwenye issue za levies, issue za taxation ambazo ni ngumu wengi kuziongea, lakini watu wanaweza wakafundishwa wakaweza kunegotiate huu ushuru ulioletwa huko kinyume na utaratibu. Lakini pia access to information is very crucial tunapo engage na groups kama hizo. Asanteni sana.
Sorry kukukatisha na kukuwekea pressure. Na samahani kwa wote nisije nikaonekana niko very rude. Lakini Professor Kitila nimepewa taarifa kwamba anatakiwa kurush somewhere quickly. Kwa hiyo tunataka tumpe nafasi. Kwa hiyo Max, utavumilia kidogo? Unaweza inabidi abaki. Ni mtumishi wetu, lakini anakotakiwa kwenda, yani sasa ndege, kuna abiria wengine watacheleweshwa kwa sababu wanamgoja Profesa Kitila. Tamlipia tiketi nyingine. Dada Jane, sorry kwa kukatisha. Max amekupa nafasi na wananchi wamesema utulie. Ubaki hapa utusikilize. Wakati huo pamoja na kwamba dada Aida amesema we have become so good kwenye kufuatilia registration, participant list na nini. Sawa. Naomba niwakumbushe wale ambao bado hamjascan ile QR code, kwa sababu so far we have 20 something people ambao wamescan hiyo QR code ya registration. It is there on your table. Scan it uweze kuregister. Hata kama dada Aida ametusema, please register. Okay? Scan the QR code. Max, karibu.
Asante sana. Sasa sijui nianzie hiyo uliyosema watu kuchukua QR code. I hope hata wale wasiotuelewa Kiswahili wanaweza kucapture, ila nitafanya code mixing. Lakini nadhani kama tutataka kufanya narration tutafanya. Lakini nafarijika kwa Profesa Kitila kunipa nafasi niongea kiwepo. Ni jambo jema kwa sababu kuna mawe yatakulenga. Lakini nimefarijika kwa sababu huu ndo utumishi. Hajanipa nafasi. Nakupenda mtetezi wangu. Teknolojia labda ni tuanze, unajua takwimu, kwa sababu tuko na Twaweza, takwimu zinatoa uhalisia. Na takwimu hizi, hasa kama tuna wanasiasa hapa, kama wapo, wanaweza huenda wasiwe wanaziangalia, lakini sasa napenda niwakumbushe. Tangu taifa letu linazaliwa, Tanzania, tangia 1961 tangu tumepata uhuru mpaka mwaka 2020, labda niongelee internet users. Tulikuwa na watumiaji wa internet takriban milioni 25 mpaka mwaka 2020. Miaka mitano, 2020 mpaka Disemba, sasa mpaka March 2025, milioni 50. Double in 5 years. Kwa mantiki hiyo, uongezekaji wa utumiaji wa dijitali ni mkubwa sana. Is it an illusion? Tutafika. Lakini ukuaji huu umechagizwa na kujengwa miundombinu ya access kwa wananchi. Teknolojia imeleta nini kwetu? Imesaidia kudecentralize information dissemination. Imewapa power hata wale ambao hawakuweza kuwa wanaonekana kuonekana. Tuanze na the good side of it. Ingawa nadhani teknolojia imeweza kuamplify uchawa katika kipindi cha miaka mitano ndio chawa wameweza kushamiri sana, lakini imeleta nafasi ya kudecentralize information dissemination. Awali kwenye media industry tulikuwa tuna wahariri ambao walikuwa ni gatekeepers, marafiki wakubwa wa serikali. Kwa sasa the power they used to have kuzuia story fulani zisitoke kwenda kwa umma imekatwa. Kwa mantikio, power to the people. Teknolojia pamoja na uzuri wake inaweza kuwa na changamoto, lakini ukifocus kwenye uzuri unagundua kwamba teknolojia imeleta wajasiriamali wapya wengi mno. Nilikuwa South Africa last week kwenye mkutano wa wajasiriamali ambao tumeanza miaka 8 iliyopita. Tunakutana kuweza kukumbushana transitions tulizopitia. Katika makampuni zaidi ya 1000 yaliyokuwa pale, 400 plus yanadili na teknolojia. Kwa mantiki hiyo, teknolojia imeibua fursa au nafasi mbadala za watu kufikiria tofauti. Lakini hatuwezi kuongelea sauti za wananchi bila kuongelea teknolojia. Sauti za wananchi ya Twaweza inatumia teknolojia. Ndio simu zinatumika kuweza kufanya search survey. Je, nafasi ya serikali iko wapi? Bahati nzuri serikali miaka 5 iliyopita kuna baadhi ya vitu kwa sasa hivi vilivyopo havikuwepo. Data Protection Act haikuwepo, hakuna sera miongozo inayoongelea namna ya kuweza kufanya interoperability. Sasa ndio Kiswahili chake, mifumo kusomana. Awali hatukuwa na mifumo kusomana, ndio maana ulikuwa unaenda NIDA wana taarifa zao, sijui kila sehemu walikuwa na taarifa zao. Lakini sasa nadhani mlisikia Mheshimiwa Rais akiwa anasema mifumo inatakiwa kusomana katika nyanja hizi za dijitali, na kwa kuwa tumeshakuwa na sheria ya ulinzi wa taarifa binafsi ambayo na washukuru asilimia kubwa hapa tulishirikiana to push the government to come up with the Data Protection Act that safeguards our right to privacy. Sasa mifumo inapoenda kusomana kuna hatari kubwa inatoka wapi? Ongezeko la watu wanaotumia vifaa vya kidijitali, sio internet. Tuna zaidi ya vifaa vya kidijitali vyenye kuwa na SIM card zaidi ya milioni 80 nchini Tanzania. Lakini ongezeko hili linapelekea kuwepo watu wengi wenye kutumia vifaa hivi bila elimu ya matumizi yake. Surveillance, mass surveillance, ambao sijui surveillance Kiswahili chake ni nini? Mass surveillance wakati mmoja inaweza kufanywa na mamlaka za nchi, lakini wakati mwingine kafanywa na watu wengine, third parties. Mara nyingi tulikuwa tukiangalia watu wakiangalia adui mkubwa, ukiangalia swala la surveillance wanadhani ni serikali. Yawezekana serikali na wenyewe wanaweza kuwa ni wahanga katika hilo. Ingawa mifumo itapokuwa ikisomana, kwa kuwa tuna sheria ya ulinzi wa taarifa binafsi, sasa mwananchi pia ana tool. Sheria hiyo inampa nguvu ya kwenda kwa tume kulalamika kwamba anahisi taarifa zake zinachezewa. Sasa sheria hii haimbani mwananchi peke yake. Ni bahati mbaya wananchi wanadhani hiyo sheria ni kwa ajili ya kuwabana wao tu. Hata ikitokea kuna authority ya serikali ambayo imeviolate your right to privacy, una haki ya kuiburuza mahakamani. Na sisi kama jamii ya Afrika tunacho kitengo maalum cha kuwasaidia wahanga wa violation ya right to privacy, na tumeweka hiyo makusudi kuhakikisha kwamba yeyote, iwe ni sekta binafsi, iwe ni serikali au ni mwanasiasa, asije akaviolate haki ya watu ya faragha. Sasa wakati huu wa uchaguzi, tunapoenda kwenye uchaguzi mkuu, kutatokea violation kubwa, kutatokea surveillance kubwa, lakini niwaambie wananchi kwamba teknolojia tuiangalie on the positive side, kwamba ime decentralize information dissemination na tuitumie effectively tuweze ku push authorities into unahitaji niachie kabla sijaendelea sana, kuna kitu nataka kukiongezea. Yes, sasa ukiangalia sisi tuna projects kadhaa. Mzee Uto ni moja kati ya collaborators tuliokuwa nao Wajibu Institute. Teknolojia imerahisisha uragabishi wa Wajibu Institute kwa kushirikiana na Jamii Afrika kuweza kuamplify namna mbadala ya wananchi kupambana na vitendo vya kifisadi. Lakini teknolojia hiyo hiyo tukatengeneza tool ya kuhakikisha kwamba mwananchi tuna safeguard haki yake ya faragha. Tukatengeneza kitu kinaitwa fichua uovu. Siku hizi kama mmefuatilia, baada ya kufanya some capacity building to state actors ambao ni maafisa habari wa serikali, mtabaini kwamba vitu vinaandikwa X, serikali inajibu. Vitu vinaandikwa Jamii Forum, serikali inajibu. Teknolojia imerahisisha kusababisha serikali iwe responsive. Awali watu tulikuwa mnapiga kabobo, mnapiga maneno, wapi wananyamaza, kama ambavyo Halifa alisema they don't care. Lakini sasa hivi ni kwamba mkijichanganya, itaanzia TikTok, itaingia Jamii Forums, itaingia X, utablock huku, utafika wakati watu wana VPN, utoboi. Njia pekee ni kuwa responsive. Technology imesaidia kupush the government to be responsive. Kwa hiyo to me nasema yawezekana kuna glitches, lakini tunaweza kuzifix tukiwa na ushirikiano wa pamoja. Asante.
Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. Ni waruhusu, alafu tutaweza ku-engage. Mnawaona jinsi ambavyo wananionea, wanasema kwamba I never gave them the questions, but then when they started speaking, you realize I gave them the questions in February. Right? Not even half an hour before or yesterday, I gave them the questions in February. That's why they got time to prepare. Professor Kitila, utanisamehe, you just have to hold on a little bit. There is somebody else who is more powerful, and she has decided to use her veto power. Uzungumze baada ya yeye kuzungumza. Mama, karibu. Mama ameomba azungumze kabla ya wewe kuzungumza. Sasa mama, sijui tufanye arrangement gani, sijui utakaa au utasimama, na nani akupe company hapa, Aidan, I don't know, na professor waje. Peke yako. Great.
Jamani, mimi nasimama hapa, cha kwanza kabisa, it was a big surprise. Si kawaida wazazi kuingia kwenye kazi za watoto wao. Mimi na uzoefu huo kweli. Baba anakuja, mama anakuja, aone mtoto anafanya wapi kazi. Sidhani kama ni kitu cha kawaida. Lakini nashukuru sana Twaweza. Na ninaposimama hapa, sio kwa sababu ni mama wa Aidan tu. Naomba niwakilishe wazazi wenu. Kwa sababu ukweli nimesimama kwa niaba ya wazazi na vijana, kwa sababu wote ni vijana kwangu. Mimi na miaka 81. Kwa hivyo hapa hakuna mdogo wangu, ni watoto wangu. Lakini najua bila shaka kuna wazazi wanaokaribia umri huu. Bila najua wengi bado ni wadogo, lakini wakilisha wazazi. Kwa sababu wote mlioko hapa, kila mzazi ana neno, ana pride kwa ajili ya kijana ambaye amefanya kazi Twaweza. Mimi naomba niwashukuru. Nianze kuwashukuru kwa kumlea. Bahati mbaya Rakesh hayupo. Rakesh alianzisha NGO kule Mwanza inaitwa Kuleana, na amekuja ameanzisha Twaweza ili kulea. Kwa hivyo hilo neno lingine la Twaweza ni kuleana, si ndio? Nadhani mnaleana na mmemlea Aidan. Hayo tu ni introduction, nimeombwa. Haumjui vizuri Aidan alipokuwa kijana na kwa nini pengine labda naye mwingine labda ameyasahau. Aidan ni firstborn wetu. Nimejaliwa mwenzangu, Mungu ameshamtanguliza, huu mwaka wake wa 10. Tulipata watoto 5. Lakini 5 tashangaa. Watoto 5 walikuja haraka. Aidan alizaliwa hajaanza hata kutembea vizuri, ana mwaka 1 na miezi 4, akazaliwa mdogo wake. Yuko pale Betra. Chap. Simama wakuone. Bertram hajatembea. Imagine babake Aidan was a medical doctor, among the first doctors. Yani madaktari wa kwanza kabla hata ya uhuru. Amesoma Makerere, amesoma Edinburgh, amespecialize. Alafu mimi ni graduate. Lakini tunazaa watoto bila mpangilio. Sasa na baba yake alikuwa hana dada. Kwa hivyo alitamani sana kupata mtoto wa kike. Haraka akazaliwa mtoto wa kike Cynthia. Wakati Petro amajanza atakutembea. Petro amezaliwa Mei, Cynthia amezaliwa July the following year. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru Mungu, Cynthia hayupo. Hata hii nimehakikisha kwamba tutamwakilisha. Hiki kitenge nilichovaa alinipa Cynthia. Nilitaka na yeye awepo. Sasa kuna mdogo wake na Cynthia, kwa kweli alishajiandaa tuje wote. Anaitwa Dalini. Mtaka kukumbuka familia yetu ni ABCDE. Hata msipokumbuka majina mnasema A. Sasa B ni yule Bertram, C ni Cynthia. Sasa D Dalini. Bahati mbaya asubuhi hii akawa hali yake sio nzuri, asema hawezi kuja, ametuma salamu. Sasa Aidan tumekaa. Kwa kweli Dalini kidogo nilipumzika kidogo, nikaenda kusoma. Na kupumzika kwenye ilibidi niende kusoma tena, nikaenda University of Nairobi. Sasa baada ya hapo tumetoka nchini. Nilipomaliza kusoma nikamzaa Dalini. Basi 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 girls, si ndio? Lakini Mungu naye ana mipango yake. Basi tumetoka nje ya kuzaa, alikuwa WHO. Sasa kidogo tena akaja msichana mwingine. Na sasa huyu msichana akawa twini wa Aidan. Firstborn nizaliwa Januari 15 na lastborn Januari 15. They are twins. Naomba Elsie. Kwa hivyo Elsa akafunga kwa sababu sasa wote wanakuwa Eyakuze. Ya kwa kifupi ndio Aidan amezaliwa Mwanza. Alikuwa mtundu kidogo, very inquisitive. Akiwa na miaka 4 tukiwa Mwanza, tumeenda yacht club, Mwanza club, kulikuwa na swimming pool. Tulitoka kusindikiza ndugu yetu railway station. Tukaenda, kumbe mwenyewe yuko curious, watu wanaogelea, hajawahi kuogelea, amevaa viatu. Unajua Afrika tunavyovalisha watoto kila kitu. Sasa mimi niko na dada yao, yule mdogo wao, natoka naambia, mama, ulikuwa wapi? Mtoto alitaka kuzama. He fell into the swimming pool na nguo zote na viatu. But there was, unajua Mungu akiwa na mpango wako, so he was rescued. Sasa na baba yangu akasema lazima aogelee, la sivyo atakuwa na trauma za maji. Kwa hivyo ameogelea mpaka ana boti sasa hivi. Yuko member wa yacht club. Anasaili kutoka zui hapo mpaka sasa, ndio utundo wa Aidan. Ajali nyingine tulikuwa mwaka 1973, 74, Idi Amin ameanza fujo. Sisi kule tulikuwa tunakaa mlimani, akatupa libomu. Sasa lile libomu lilikuwa karibu na nyumba yetu. Mimi tukaamua kwamba hawa watoto watatu bora tuwasogeze waje Dar es Salaam kwa wazazi wangu to be safe. Sasa kitu ambacho anapata kwa baba yake, ambacho nadhani ndio hicho Twaweza mmekiona. Wakati wa baba yake alikuwa mkurugenzi, alisema tunahamisha watoto. Hapo Mwanza watu wanaanza kuhama, lakini baba yake alisema siwezi kuacha ofisi. Watu wa ofisi wanaweza wakaondoka, lakini lazima nikae kwa sababu ni mkurugenzi. Kitu ambacho nadhani mmekiona, baada ya kukosa pasipoti kila kitu, Aidan alibaki. That's where they Sasa katika leadership nadhani alianza akiwa mdogo, kwa sababu baada ya kujifungua Bertram imetoka hospitali. Kitanda cha baby kilikuwa ina bedroom, lakini yeye alikuwa na bedroom yake. Siku nimetoka hospitali, Aidan alilia, hakutaka kabisa kukaa kwenye chumba chake. Alihamia kwetu. I think he was very curious to see this newcomer. Lakini ameendelea hivyo, ni ile tu kwamba upendo, na amekuwa firstborn, anashughulika na ndugu zake. And as a Catholic wameenda kusoma Waterford, Swaziland, walikuwa bado wadogo, hawajapata confirmation. Aidan ameorganize mpaka wadogo zake wamepata confirmation. That's kind of leadership. Ameanza majukumu yake nadhani mapema zaidi. Afa alijaliwa hii sauti alionayo, alijaliwa akiwa bado mdogo. Akiwa primary school, Greek school Arusha, walikuwa na mchezo wa Joseph kwenye Bible, the technical color robe, alikuwa naimba. Ana sauti kubwa sana ya kuimba. Sasa nadhani amegeuza imekuwa ya kuongea. Kwa hivyo nadhani, sijui mnataka kujua nini zaidi baba yake. Sasa ni kwamba, lakini hapa nilipo kwa kweli namshukuru Mungu na wajukuu watano. Na anaye kama mimi nimesimama kurepresent hata wazazi wenu, lakini kwenye familia na mjukuu wangu ambaye pia is my twin. Amezaliwa tarehe 2 Februari na mimi nilizaliwa tarehe 2 Februari. Naomba mjukuu wangu mtoto Aidan, Maria Elena, njoo. We call each other twins. Kwa hiyo ndio familia. Aidan anaendelea kutulea kwa sababu ndio baba, na nakumbuka hii ya kujali watu. Tulikuwa tunaenda sana nyumbani Bukoba. Kwa hivyo siku moja alikuwa na miaka kama 4 hivi, tumekaa, wazee wamekuja kutuona, akaona mzee mmoja ana viatu. Akamsogelea akamwambia, mbona wewe hujavaa viatu? Unajua watu wa kijijini. Akamwambia, mimi sina viatu. Akasema, nitakuchukulia viatu vya baba navyo vipi? Kwa hivyo kijijini kwa kweli wanawafahamu. Sasa vitu gani kuhusu mzazi yoyote? Mmesema kwamba Aidan aongelei mambo ya passport. Ni kitu kilituuma, ni kitu kilitusumbua kama familia, na wanafamilia wengine wakanambia bora umfiche asiwe anatembea hivi hivi, yani security yake ilisumbua wengi wanafamilia. Lakini mtu mwenyewe ndio huyo, hata useme nini ataenda na maisha ya kawaida. He never worried, but we worried a lot. Kwa hivyo ule msimamo wako wa kuto washekeni labda, maana hata alipokuwa baby alikuwa halii sana, alikuwa ni mtoto wa kulia, yani very calm, very quiet, hapendi makubwa. I don't know how you manage to catch him, kwa sababu mimi kule nimeambia jamani, Aidan hatujamwona, tumpongeze, ni mtu mwenyewe kila wakati is busy. Time will come, but I know he's avoiding that. Na it's compassionate, lakini kikubwa mimi ningependa tu kushukuru familia ya Twaweza. Na yeye nilikuwa naona za wakati ule wa mambo ya passport na mambo mengi, mlichukua picha yake mkamwandalia maneno mazito sana kuonyesha how you really appreciate Aidan. Na Aidan ni Aidan, hataki tena sijui nani, sijui kuanzia kwa mama namwita Aidan, ndugu zake driver atamwita Aidan, sweeper atamwita Aidan. To him titles to me titles. It's just part of the crowd, part of all of you. Kwa hivyo kila mtu kwake ni Aidan. Na hili jina imetoka kwa best friend wa baba yake, was also a fellow doctor in Irish. Alikuwa anaitwa Aidan O'Hara. Lakini ana majina mengi. Ni Aidan Frederick. Frederick alikuwa best man wa baba yake wakati wa ndoa. Alafu ana lingine Lwanga ambao ni watakatifu wa Uganda. Ana lingine alipewa na babu yake Makai, which means very strong and very resilient, na Eyakuze. Kwa hivyo ana 5 names, lakini Aidan ndio linalojusha. Kwa hivyo kwa kweli naomba sana mchukue wote, you are just great people. Otherwise, asingeweza kumanage to go through what he went through bila nyinyi. Nawashukuru, na mchwa kwa niaba ya wote wanawashukuru wazazi wengine. Mjue kwamba they are very proud of you na kwa kazi mnayofanya. Sasa kwa sababu mimi ni mtu wa elimu ya watu wazima, nimejifunza mengi, elimu haina mwisho. Lakini nilikuwa naomba nimtize Aidan. Without good education, mambo mengi yatakuwa yanaswa. We have a problem with education in my country. Tumeviona. Napoongea power tunayo sisi. Tawapa mfano, wakati niko chuo kikuu 1965. Mtu anaitwa Ian Smith declared unilateral independence for Rhodesia. Hatujawahi kwenda Rhodesia, lakini chuo kikuu tuliandamana, tukavunja magari ya British High Commissioner, ni fujo. Basi ukaa Nyerere akakasirika, mwenzetu mmoja akasema who should apologize to the British government. Nani ananyosha mkono? Akanyosha maskini marehemu Amburambo, alienda akapigwa viboko. Lakini after like I think hardly a week, Nyerere alivunja uhusiano na Waingereza. Nyerere alikuwa anakuja chuo kikuu. Chuo kikuu is the power. Lakini chuo kikuu cha leo hii hawafanyi hiyo kazi. They are empowered that they are not doing. Kwa kweli hawajui nguvu yao. 1966 again, chuo kikuu naambiwa mambo ya national service. waliandamana. This time walikuwa naenda kwa Kawawa, Nyerere akawachukua mwenyewe. No, hatutaki chuo kikuu mpaka tu, you know, but they were using their power kuonyesha. Kwa hivyo baadaye Nyerere alikuwa anakuja sana chuo kikuu. Sasa najua chuo kikuu is the vision of tomorrow. Mimi naomba yani tuangalie vijana ni woga, they are not doing anything. When they get the money ni kununua simu, there is a problem with the education system. Yani wao wakiandamana ni pesa. Hela ijaja. No, I think we need to be serious. Mfano ulikuwepo fighting for, as they have been saying, for the downtrodden. Naomba tuwe serious na wanasema NGO, Twaweza especially, you have to do more. You have to challenge the younger people. I'm happy Anna is talking about the young people. Maybe the focus now should shift to the young generation. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana mama. Ngoja wakupokee hapa. Asante sana mama. Yaani hapo kwa kweli hakuna cha kuongeza. Yaani kuna watu walikuwa wanatamani kuendelea kusikia vya Aidan, wakawa wanafurahia mama anaongea vya Aidan, mara chuo kikuu akafikiwa. Wakati wanawacheka wa chuo kikuu, vijana wakafikiwa. Asante sana mama. Yaani kwa kweli tumejifunza vitu vingi. Ulikuwa unasema mimi niongee nini? Mimi nakuja tu kusikiliza. Lakini ulipoamua ukasema nitasikiliza halafu nitaongea mwishoni. I think hapo imekwenda vizuri sana. Asante sana. Sasa Prof, umewasikia wakina Halifa, wakina Mishi, wakina Max, wakina Jane Magigita na wengine, na mama vile vile. Umeondoka chuo kikuu, umeingia huko kwenye corridor za power. Ulikuwa mwajiriwa wa Twaweza, ukaondoka, ukaenda huko. Haya, njoo uongee.
Mama, shikamoo. Nilikuwa nataka kuongea kwa mengi lakini nadhani yameisha. Hapa juu kidogo. I'm so happy na kwamba nimepata nafasi ya kuja hapa kwa sababu I have a very strong connection na Twaweza. Way back in 2014, Rakesh tulikutana, my friend, kazungumza. Then mwishoni mwa 2014-2015 nikawa nafanya kazi pale kama sio kama mwajiriwa. Nilikuwa nafanya, so I took a 1 year sabbatical leave from the University of Salaam. So I became a senior consultant in the program of education. And it turned out to be kwamba Twaweza was just a very perfect place for a person like me. That's the only place where you are not just free, but actually very proud to criticize your boss. Happily. I think nimefanya kazi sehemu nyingi, but I think it is only in Twaweza where you can criticize your boss, not only freely, but actually happily. So that one, Anna can take it. Hawa jamaa, hawa kina Barwani, hawa, hilo watalifanya bila wasiwasi. Na jambo la pili, Twaweza tulijitahidi sana by then, but I believe even now, the temptation of making Twaweza an NGO just like another NGO because of two factors. Twaweza is heavily driven by evidence on whatever it does. And that is not a feature for every NGO. And the second thing, Twaweza actually practices what it says. Unajua hapa, wengi sana, they want to be politically correct. That is not with Twaweza. Kwa hivyo, hata mimi nimekaa kwenye NGO nyingi sana hapa Tanzania zikitaka kuwa politically correct. Na Harifa was right. So it was tough for Twaweza when it comes to, for example, we do this Sauti za Wananchi, especially when it comes to political matters. And you get results which are either very somewhat negative to the government or to the opposition, not to the government, to the ruling party or to the opposition. That happened a couple of times, and Risha knows. And that is where you see Aidan. Kwa sababu wengine wangesema aiba toko tusiatoe. Aidan would insist, let us go present this result, let them be discussed. He will get a share of slapping from the government if the results are not very good for the government. But he also got a lot of share of slapping from the opposition. And that is the thing we have to know. This country, we fight for democracy. And I think we have a couple of people who are democratic. But I think we have a problem here. I don't think we have a democratic society. Because you can blame the government, but really a democratic government is a product of a democratic society. And I'm not sure which one informed the other. Lakini the fact hapa ni kwamba the democratic space, both in the society, in the civil society itself. You go around our civil society, themselves are not very, if you want to audit them, I think that democratic credentials can be questioned. But I think I liked with Unaweza because I think the space was very democratic. If you want to measure democracy on the basis of the freedom to express your ideas, then you get it from Twaweza. So that was very good. Now, the second one is Aidan. Mama ameongea vitu vizito sana pale. But for me, having worked with Aidan in two areas, when he was my boss, and then when I'm a minister here, when I was charged with the task of writing the vision, nikamwomba ashiriki. What did we discuss? Kwanza kumshirikisha kuingia kwenye dira, sio kutoa maoni, awe part ya process. Sasa Aidan nikifanya naye kazi pale, he's a boss, of course, he's the executive director, but actually this is a person ambaye nilikuwa natafuta neno hapa. He's a boss without being a boss. Anti-bossy. Kuna vitu viwili hapo. He's a boss without being a boss and without being boss. Na hiyo ni jambo gumu sana kwa watu. Kwa hivyo kwenye uongozi, my own experience ni kwamba what is difficult kuendelea kuhakikisha unabaki kuwa binadamu wa kawaida ukishakuwa kiongozi. Hilo ni jambo ambalo Aidan analo, lakini somehow I don't know how he does it, because somehow you'll never forget that this guy is the boss. Without him telling you. So he's a colleague, he's a friend, you eat together, but somehow you are suddenly reminded this guy is the boss actually, he's the executive director. Kwa hivyo, and you see that one, mtakuwa naye mnacheka mnafanya, lakini utakapo submit kitu chako, kwa sababu tuna submit sasa kaka, atakishughulikia kana kwamba hakujui. Kwa hiyo, I think that was kwa mimi nimejifunza sana, na mwambia kila siku, I learned that kind of skill, and it is not easy in government, but we try to learn that one from Twaweza. Na mimi nilipishana jambo moja tu kubwa, yeye kwa kweli ndio nikataa kuliga. Yeye anapenda sana kutembea vigari vidogo vidogo. Mimi sipendi magari madogo. Kwa hiyo so otherwise I think lipo mchukua kule serikalini, and you must know it was Aidan as part of the vision writing process, but actually baada ya kuingia kule, hata waliokuwa skeptical his contribution has been huge. He's so busy, but the day he's part of the process, the kind of contribution he makes katika hiyo timu, wananiuliza ule mtu ulimtoa wapi? Kwa hiyo ile dira ambayo tumeiandika, nataka niwaambie ina input zake za kutosha sana. Ameandika vizuri sana. Na nikwambia Harifa, you said a lot of very good stuff, but one area that I can probably defend my government. It is not true that the government is not listening. The government listens. And if you want to confirm that, you look at the process of the vision. Aidan knows. I told them, I was always insisting, please do not self-censor yourself. Kwa sababu ndio changamoto ya watu sisi wanasiasa tumepewa hiyo kazi. Wewe weka sayansi yako. Sisi tutakapoleta tutajua kitu gani tutakichukua, kitu gani tutakiacha. Lakini watu wetu wengi sana wataalamu wanaanza kwa kujiself-censor wenyewe. Sasa hiyo ni changamoto. Kwa hiyo hilo nimeenda. Kwa hiyo nataka nikuhakikishie Alifa, these guys can adjust it. When I met them, they criticized our Kiswahili version of the vision. And all the criticisms were really valid, from the style to the content. So nikamwambia mwenyekiti, so you know this thing is not going to be corrected. What I'm going to do, I will put a small team from this guy, wafungie wakafanya hiyo kazi. Kwa nikaomba, tukawafungia APC, so they wrote, and the last version I read yesterday after having been edited. I'm so happy with the Swahili version of the vision. Actually, it's far better than the English version. Lakini, those inputs have been done by these guys. So it's not like you just listen. We actually gave them the task to do it. Comparing vision ni kazi yetu, kwa hiyo ifanyeni. Kwa hiyo kwa kweli hilo ni jambo ambalo nitaka nilisema, otherwise we wish you all the best, Anna. I can assure you I've worked in very many different places. But one thing I can assure you, I've worked in very many places also. But I still believe that Twaweza remains my best place of work. And I hope that you have better time. Kama unavyoona everybody is inquisitive. Tunamwona baruani hapa hata anapomuuliza maswali. Unaona kabisa hapa kuna kitu. Mungu awabariki sana, asanteni.
Thank you very much, Professor Kitila. Thank you so much. It's 12:30 now. And you are leaving. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Sasa, kwa sababu we are pressed with time, nilipromise kwamba tunge open up for discussion, lakini hiyo inatu limit kidogo kutokana na muda. But we all understand kwamba tumekuwa na hizi conversations ambazo kwa kweli kujaribu kumkatisha yoyote kati ya waliokuwa wanaongea sio kazi rahisi. So I would propose, and thank you for all agreeing, that is democracy. We are a democratic society. I invite Aidan for the final question. Halafu tutakuwa na Vitali na yeye atatuchezea kitu fulani hapo. Halafu kutegemeana ninamwangalia kiongozi wangu wa muda pale, akiniruhusu niongeze kidogo nitaongeza, lakini kwa sasa sithubutu kujaribu kuongeza. Now, as we promised at the beginning that we have a final question to Aidan. And this is the only question that he has not seen. This question, hopefully, it will help him synthesize all that he has been hearing from the moment we started this session, and synthesize and wrap it up for all of us. And the question goes like this. If you are given superpowers, but of course everybody believes that you have beyond the human powers already. If you are given superpowers to choose a time in the history of humankind when you would have liked to be born, what time, what era would that be? And why would you pick that time? What kind of lessons would you go and draw there to inform your life and the contributions that you have made so far? Reflecting on all that you have experienced and gone through, we are giving you superpowers to pick a time in the history of humankind Either go back there or maybe it's in the future. What time is that, and why would you go back or forward to that time? And what lessons would you bring? Karibu.
Thank you. First of all, it's incredibly touching. All of the things that you have said about me, about Twaweza, about the incredible team I've had the privilege of working with. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. You asked me a question about history or about the future. I can't imagine a time in the future. But we talked about technology here. We talked about agency. So if there's one time that I think I would have enjoyed, although I would never, I pick it now because I know the outcome of that particular invention. That time would have been in, I can't remember when we lived, but it was our friend, is it Thomas Gutenberg? The inventor of the printing press. Johannes, thank you. Johannes Gutenberg. Because I think he unleashed, it took a very long time, but he unleashed a technology which allowed us as human beings to engage with knowledge, to interpret it in our own contexts, and to share it with others cheaply. Before then, knowledge, information, understanding of the whole world was the purview of the theocratic classes, the Catholic Church, and perhaps the great schools of Islam. After that, we could have an opinion, and we could share it. And I think this is a huge driver of human freedom and human dignity. There's a book, I can't remember the name of the author, who says actually the freedom to express yourself is a fundamental one. It is inborn in us. It is in our genes. And so the technologies that allow for this to happen democratically, easily, cheaply, are liberating technologies. So look at where it's brought us. Because we're not talking about technologies and information and communication technologies, and they're about that. We are in danger of it being concentrated in the hands of very, very few who own the platforms. But at the same time, and I'd like to end with this, it is also an incredible moment for us to use those same technologies to liberate ourselves from being mere consumers and mere recipients of other people's ideas, and to really use those technologies to shape our own individual and collective futures together. I really loved what Anna mentioned there, that democracy is a learned behavior. So I made a note here. Democracy is a learned behavior. Absolutely true. And so we're told, go to the gym, eat well, do all of these things for your good health. Let us also learn to exercise our civic muscles. Speaking out, organizing. Somebody said, let's organize. Who was it in the second panel? Yes, justice. Organizing. All of this is exercising our civic muscle, and it really does begin with us. So it's been an incredible 10 years with Twaweza, 10 years building this amazing community, and 10 years in which I learned so many things that I'm now going to inject where I am now in the Open Government Partnership. There are so many overlaps, it's incredible. So many. I was talking to Mzee Mabala, Mwalimu Mabala here, on a show that I don't know whether he's going to, has it aired yet, Khalifa? Sebuleni. Sebuleni. It's there, okay. But we were talking about how the Uragbisha I learned from Twaweza is what I'm going to be using in other parts of the world. And the concepts are the same. They're the very basic ones. Organize, propose solutions, work with government. I know, Alifa, you don't like closing up to government. But that's how you scale difference. That's how you scale transformation. That's how you scale development. And that's what I'm using. From all of that Uragbishi, from Anna through Twaweza and other places, that is what I'm taking to the Open Government Partnership. It's not easy. We have some exciting governments in the partnership, some of who are my bosses, but I can tell you, when I'm speaking to the American civil society now, I have so much that I can teach them from Tanzania civil society. I can calm them down when they are shell-shocked about what is going on in the country. They say, yeah, this is happening. But you can gather your strength, you can gather your forces, you can plan, strategize, organize, be able to at least hold the line, hold most dear and most valuable. But remember, don't take it for granted. Don't take what you've had so much for granted. We should never take what we have for granted. We've come this far, as Aida said. We've come this far. It hasn't come from nowhere. But we must not fall asleep at the wheel. We must always be vigilant, stand up, express ourselves. Use the technology, use the books, use Johannes Gutenberg's invention to spread the ideas of exercising our civic muscle. Tuko pamoja. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So we're almost at the end. We planned it to be a half-day session. When we were planning this session, Aidan had insisted that this should not be about him. But of course, how can we make it not about him? So I believe we have tried to make it about you as well. But at the same time, welcoming our incoming executive director so that we introduce you to our stakeholders who happen to be your stakeholders as well, that you've been working with for so long. So you are at home. Karibu sana. So now, Vitaly, kwako.
Today is my day. Today is my day. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na 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 na. Today is my last day to smoke. I have been a heavy smoker. I've smoked the import and exported one. Oh, please, please, roll for me a big one. I want to smoke for the last time. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na, 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 na. Today is my last day to booze. I have been a heavy drinker. I've drunk from pots and bottles. Oh, please, waitress, swing me a mega bottle of spirit. I want to drink for the last time. Welcome to the performance. I feel very lucky and blessed to perform before you. There are a few people who are courageous enough to listen to this rebel music, especially in this time when life is too tough. A lot of people are suffering from lack of freedom, lack of food, and lack of medicine, suffering from low levels of education, low salaries, and low blood pressure. In this time, when others are sitting on their bottoms, enjoying of blessings, stealing, killing, and suffering from high salaries, high tax robberies, high expenditures, high profit, and high blood pressure. And this time, when corrupt leaders lead music to the wrong path, using it to grab power, popularity, and stuff, scaring people, using music to tear down, while the purpose of music is to heal the broken souls, unify and uplift people. In this time, when music is abused by the people in power, controllers who control the media, which then dictate what good music is. Oh, today is my day. Thank you. I thank the Father.
Thank you very much. Shukran Vitali. Aidan, today is your day. Have you stopped? Thank you so much, Vitali. Thank you very much, everyone. So now, as we have about 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes, that is how flexible we can be. We are going to break for lunch at 1:10, and we'll have lunch right in here. But now we have to invite a few people who would like to say and do something. Remember, we promised that there are people who want to say and do something for Aidan, and we are going to invite them. And the first group, they have been sitting quietly throughout. They are part of the audience, but they are very important people to Twaweza. They are the owners of Twaweza. Twaweza ina wenyewe. Na wenyewe ni board and members. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the representatives of the Twaweza board and members. Dada Rebecca and Dada Gertrude, karibuni for all that you have prepared. And you are Aidan's boss, right?
Thank you so much, Barani. It's such a pleasure to stand before you this afternoon. And really, Twaweza ni ya wananchi. Yeah, I mean, we are here representing the members of Twaweza East Africa, but also the board of directors. I should say at the very beginning, Rakesh alituomba pia tume salamu zake. Unfortunately, he really, really wished to be here this afternoon, but he got a challenge with his flight getting back to the country. I think maybe you might bump into him during lunch if he makes it on time, but maybe he won't be able to address you. Yeah, so Aidan, really, before I even start speaking of, why we're here and the transition, I would really like to share my story. As a leader, growing into the civic space, I remember quite clearly your leadership full of humility when I joined the Twaweza's board of directors. And I'm saying this because I think in the space that we are in, sometimes it's very easy when you are in the board and then you have executive director to feel as if you're just there because you are in the board. But Aidan, you were always full of humility. You loved opinions. You respect opinions. And especially if they are different, which I think is an important value. I remember quite clearly how you also visited me, I think 2019, the same year you were struggling with the passport. In the small office in Mikocheni, where I was also starting with the organization that, we were leading. And you can imagine Aidan with his experience and everything, anakuja ofisini anakaa na kusikiliza. I'm saying that because sio kitu kirahisi. And I would like for us to not take it lightly, kwa sababu that's a value that I think for some of us who are growing into this space, you are teaching us humility, the grace, the wisdom. It's very, very important. But Aidan, I also remember how you were always full of commitment when it comes to principle. Like it's something that was not negotiated for you, very principled, even in the toughest of times. You carried Twaweza and engaged us as a governance structure with wisdom and grace. And we take that with a lot of respect. So today, as we meet here, I would like to quote Chinua Achebe's famous quote in his book, Things Fall Apart, because I feel it carries a lot of meaning to why we are here this afternoon. And maybe this is a very popular quote or adage that most of us here know. It says, "A man who calls his kinsmen to a feast does not do so to save them from starving. They all have food in their own homes. When we gather together in the Moonlight Village ground, it is not because of the moon. Every man can see it in his own compound. We come together because it is good for kinsmen to do so." So this afternoon, as we gather here, we are reminded of the true power of gathering that does not lie in necessity, but the shared unity. How we are able to come together as a community, a civic space, and reflect not just in the role of our collective space, but also individuals who contribute in shaping the space that we all love and hold very dearly. But to finish off, before I welcome Gertrude, who's going to speak a little bit about Anna, I would also like to share the concept of river of life. I think the leadership is like a river. It is never still. It flows. Bends, there are currents, all of that. Turbulent times. That's how I take your leadership, Aidan. You took over from Rakesh. You continued with that river of life. And this afternoon, we are meeting here in the bend of the river. Not that it's stopping, it's actually flowing. It continues with wisdom, grace, lots of new energy. I'm looking at Anna here. And in that river, all of us, we are part of it. So Anna, same way we're able to lead with Aidan, we pledge our support to your leadership as well, not just as Anna, but as the collective of Twaweza, with you at the helm of the organization. So Aidan, wherever you're going to be fine. You will be fine. Yes, so the river continues. I would like to invite my fellow board member, Gertrude, to speak a little bit about Anna before we share the surprise that we have for you. Karibu, Gertrude.
Asante, Rebecca. Thank you for that inspiring speech. Now, what I say to Anna is Karibu. That's the first thing and the most important thing that I'm going to say to Anna is Karibu. I will say Karibu because I know you've been in the sector for a long time. I've never actually met you in person, but I've heard a lot about you. And that is why I know that you would fit perfectly in this space. And that was confirmed when I heard you speak here. I said, okay, yeah, that's why I heard what I heard. Yes. I remember discussing Twaweza when it was still an idea, before it evolved into anything. We had conversations with Rakesh about the idea of this thing that he was trying to start or creating. And at the time, I was in civil society looking to exit civil society and move into academia. And I hadn't decided actually that I was going to move into academia at the time, but I thought the idea was good. It was a very inspiring idea, one, because he emphasized two main things that stuck with me for a long time. The first thing he said that the focus will be on recognizing and including the diversity within civil society. We had all worked with organized NGOs in whatever form, companies, limited by trusts, societies, what. But he wanted to work with non-traditional civil society, the kind of civil society that you didn't think about when you thought about NGOs. And what he said was that, similar to what some of the other former speakers have said, he said he felt that the NGOs have taken over the identity of the space without taking over the responsibility of the space as well as equity. And so he felt that the recognition that should be given to the jumuiya za kanisani, to the spaces in Skitini, to the non-traditional civil society that is not often discussed when you ask people about civil society. And so those are the people that he wanted to work with, he said, primarily. The second thing that he said is that learning is the most important thing. Yeah? Because we want to have a space, we want to express ideas, we want to have a conversation, but if we want our ideas to be taken on by Wakina Justice, now Wakina Max, now Wakina Mzeuto, now Wakina Risha, and all the other people we want to engage with, we have to learn to hear, listen to and hear what it is they are saying and what perspectives they come from. And understand that I come to you and we meet in the middle. It is not that I am trying to push you necessarily to become what you're not. In that recognition, we will have a conversation that moves us to the scale that Aidan has and Rakesh before him initiated in Twaweza. The kind of scale that you want within civil society, the kind of diversity you want within civil society, because diversity is our strength. And I invite you to this strength, which you're already a part of anyway. But I believe that in this platform, you will do well because you recognize that. And so I'm very proud to have someone who is filling Aidan's big shoes with just as big shoes. So with that, I would like to kukaribisha Twaweza from the perspective of the board, with my sister Rebecca from the membership and the board. This is an encouraging space. As was said earlier, that there will be times when we argue, all of us, because somebody said, what was it? It was Mzee Professor Kitila. He said this is a space whereby it is totally okay to criticize your boss. It is totally okay to criticize your boss. And that's the culture of the space. And that's the culture of the space even when it comes to the board and the membership. We have open, honest, robust, and blunt conversations. As long as you can argue the case and defend it with evidence, it will be taken on board and it will be discussed and taken seriously. And if it's rejected, it's rejected, and you're told why. Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Karibu sana. We're very happy to have you, and I am very excited that we will be working together. Karibu.
And now to the last part, Aidan, please, if you may come forward. Unajua, tukikufikiria kwa vitu unavyopenda, the kind of thought leader that you are, it has been quite difficult, to be honest, to decide on what exactly we're going to give you as a token of appreciation. But you utatuambia kama tumejitahidi. So labda kwanza tukupatie, alafu we will explain like in 1 minute the meaning behind our gift. So the first gift from the board and members is a book. And I think Twaweza tunapenda kusoma. We love books. So, yes, absolutely. Yes. So we think with, you know, your new challenge, you need to learn and work a lot with government. This will be quite helpful. But this is just symbolic to say, we would like for you to continue cherish the values of imagination, curiosity, continue to wonder, continue to ask questions. So this is just a symbol of that. Not necessarily this will give you all the knowledge, but we would like for you to continue that important value that we think has brought you this far and will continue to take you to new heights. Asante. Thank you. All right, great. And the second gift, hapa ndo tunasema fungu watu wanaonotia. Because we need to explain, but we can explain. Yeah, nafikiri ukifungua itakuwa ni vizuri. Just explaining the meaning behind it. And as you're opening it, actually, we are very happy that Mama slowly started to give the meaning behind our last token of appreciation. Ulipozama kwenye nani swimming pool. And then somehow ukatoka kama a sailor. We were so happy. We were like, Mama, did you know? Yes, but yes, I mean, but Aidan, I mean, for us, of course, this is symbolic to your love for sailing, but also looking at how you have, you know, sailed the ship of Twaweza, and you're taking on these new challenges, sailing world governments. So we're wishing you all the very best. Kila la heri. Don't forget the, yes, always have fun. Yeah, like mix the serious and the fun, and I think this is symbolic of all of that. So we love you and we wish you all the very best. Asante. All right, asanteni sana, tunawashukuru sana pia kwa kuja. Partners wetu, development partners, CSOs, the media, Twaweza staff. This would not have been possible without your dedication. We truly, truly appreciate your commitment. And of course, tupigie makofi our moderator. Sana. Unajua, tunaweza tukawa na MC Garabaruani. Kuna some money here za UNC, naona kabisa it might be a future opportunity. Asante sana Barwani.
And you'll be my manager. Rebecca, you'll be my manager and my lawyer in that business. Thank you very much, Dada Rebecca and Dada Gertrude, for that. And thank you, Aidan, as well. So as we continue, there is one person whose name came up so many times today. Mama amemuongelea, na wengine wamemuongelea. Finally, he is in the room. We would like to recognize your presence, and if you can move to the table here at the front, Rakesh. I don't know if you were following online and you heard what Mama said. I did hear what Mama said, but I followed a lot of it online. Okay, great. So when we give you the microphone, then you can engage with that as well. Thank you for coming. Now, before I invite Rakesh, and then I'll invite Violet on behalf of Twaweza staff and the management, I would like to invite any of our stakeholders who are here and if they would like to say or do something. Please. It's not very formal, so you are here, you have been listening, and we are almost concluding the session. Please, in a minute or two, karibuni. I'm looking at some of them. Yes, Dada Jacqueline, karibu sana.
Speak as such, so you forgive me, I don't like the front. But I think this is an opportunity for me to say something about Aidan. A lot has already been said, and one of the things that when I think about him, I thought maybe it was a bit big, but I think it explains somehow. Those who have heard a phrase about the lion and the lamb, I mean, we say it somewhere, we say Jesus is the lion and the lamb, so maybe that's too high, but you know, it's an analogy for me. What I see in Aidan, we have worked together, and I see a lot of brevity in you, strong leadership, and a lot of humility. Keep it up. We have varied a lot your contributions to us as development partners. You brought in several, strong questions, difficult questions and challenges to us, and that was very useful for us to, think more critically and look at things in a balanced way. And thank you so much. And maybe just a final one, during the last year CSO week, just to attune to your way of looking at things, you gave this small statement about when we were looking at the vision, the storytelling session about the Vision 2050, when you tried to cause all of us to think about the future, what Tanzania will look like in 2050. And then you mentioned just a comment about the population explosion, which is really a reality that most of us haven't critically thought about as such. And then ukasema kwamba watoto watakuwa wanagombania magoli, the goal mouth scramble. And I didn't forget that. Na nafikiri that's how you have always communicated rather difficult issues, complex issues, but in an easy way that causes everyone at least to be able to think about and see how to go forward with it. So thank you very much. I'm Jacqueline Ngoma. I work with the Embassy of Sweden.
Thank you very much, Dada Jacqueline. There is one more. Carl Bosa, karibu sana. I believe for some he may need an introduction, but for many probably not. I remember you from 25 years ago.
Now I feel very old. Rakesh, welcome. There was a time Rakesh and myself were on a flight together, but you will not remember it because I'm not so intelligent as you. So, hi everybody. I had to make it for today because I had no option. Since most of you would probably know the Aidan of these years, I would have to piga rewind kidogo. Mzee, Mimi tunafanana kidogo kwenye hilo, yaani miaka mingi, over 30 years plus, over 30 years plus, yeah. When I was also doing a lot of youth work, and in Nairobi, Aidan was our choir master. He was the leader of the choir, the youth choir at Mary Helper Christian's Church, Upper Hill, Nairobi. But I did not know something. Niseme nisiseme? Niseme nisiseme? Yani ningejua kuna faida ya kuwa kwa mama shikamoo. Mama we. Mamangu. Yani ningejua ungekuwa choir leader unafaidika. Sijui kamtongoza, sijui kafanya nini. Kamchukua kinanda, and he got a Vero. So Vero today is Aidan's, I don't know how you say it, the better half, the sweeter half, the bitter half. Yes? Yes. Until today, we have been close friends. We've been to each other's houses. Mama, we've been to Mama's place a couple of times. Bertram, Serengeti advisors, and so on. You've not forgotten the wedding of the elder, the ABCDE. You know that. They have the ABCDE, so we were part of some of the alphabets there. Yes. So Aidan, it's a pleasure to be here. I can only say one thing. For the person you are, for the type of things that you did, for the issues that you have been through, the plans, the projects, and the huge future that is open to you. And when I say to you, I mean to all the people who will, in one way or the other, pass through you, be with you, be part of you, or you will touch and inspire. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl. As I said that I remember you from 25 years ago, I was actually recalling one of the songs that you taught us that evening at New Arusha Hotel. I may let you down if I try to sing it now, but the words were something like Viva la, viva la, viva l'amor, viva la company, with your guitar. So you were our Vitali back then. Thank you so much. We have space for one more. Yes, Mzee Uto, lakini kuna dada pale alifika mapema na hajaongea. So, nitamruhusu dada, karibu, halafu Mzee Uto nitakupa nafasi pia kidogo, halafu tutaenda kwa Rakesh, halafu Violet. Karibu. Oh, nimlete hapo, no problem. At your service.
Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. Oh, I'm really honored to be here, really. Kwa sababu whenever I get a chance kuwepo kwenye gathering ya aina hii, inanisaidia kwa kweli kwenye kazi zangu kwa sababu napata some risk areas. Can you guess where am I from? I'm a civil servant. And I work for the eye of the country.
She's coming from the National Audit Office of Tanzania.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm from the National Audit Office of Tanzania. I'm really honored to be here because I normally get some risk areas in my powers, in my capacity. When I go back to work, I normally take them on board whenever I plan for the audit. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Asante sana, asante sana. Karibu Mr. Uto. Kuna mtu aliniambia usimuite Mzee Uto.
Ni mzee. Jamani, mimi, what can I say? I had to come to this event, and I have to say something. And I'm saying so because when I retired in 2014, 2014. When I retired in 2014, I was confronted with lots of confusion of what I should do. And I'm very thankful to Twaweza, specifically so Rakesh and Aidan, who literally mentored me and eventually got me to have the courage of starting Wajibu Institute. On my retirement, I was approached by audit firms to join them as partners. Some institutions wanted me to go back to teaching, but Rakesh, I knew Rakesh when he was with Hakili, if you remember. And at that time, Rakesh came to my assistance as CAG when, after my reports came out, Rakesh took the reports and prepared some pamphlets, a summary of that. And it greatly assisted in communicating the contents of the reports. So, when I retired, Rakesh said, Mr. Uto, you cannot just disappear. You still have a role to continue playing. And really, that's how I came to start Wajibu. And Rakesh, as the idea of Wajibu came around, the river, Rebecca, you are talking about the bending of the river happened. That Rakesh, he left for the USA on a new assignment. And Aidan came on board. Aidan gave me total support. That's why I'm saying, wherever I am, whatever I am, really, you two people, you have been my greatest mentors, and I thank you for that. But the other issue is Aidan. You are assuming the position of CEO of OGP, Open Government Partnership. We Tanzanians know that during the 51st government, Tanzania, which was a member of OGP, we removed ourselves from that organization. Now, Aidan is going there as CEO. Aidan, may I, with my white hair, request to you that once you get there, please do all you can to get Tanzania back to the OGP. And on that one, please, let us support Aidan. Let us assist him. Asha, Anna, you have come to Wajibu, you have come to Twaweza. When this organization, which was started really with the support of Twaweza, we are cooperating on a very important project. Please, let's keep the spirit going. With that one, may I say once again, Aidan, we bid you goodbye with all our blessings. And Anna, we welcome you to Twaweza with all our blessings and support. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Mzee Uto, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Rakesh, we had some panels and we had some questions and we had crafted a question for you, but we are not going to give you that question now. So now we're just going to give you the flexibility of saying whatever you wish to say, but hopefully another time we'll be able to give you that difficult question. Karibu.
Thank you, Barwani. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy that I made it. I really wanted to celebrate. If the traffic police are waiting out there, I deserve it. This Uber driver was very special, the way I navigate. I'm delighted to be here to celebrate Aidan and to welcome Anna. I know that what you really want is a long speech before lunch, so I've prepared one. There are many things I could say about Aidan. When he joined Twaweza, we knew that he was a deeply analytical person. People like different things, right? People like eating, people like money, people like fame. He liked data, He was like a little kid in a candy store. So we knew he was very analytical. We knew he was very strategic. We knew he had deep integrity. The one thing that I did not know so well about Aidan, that I have got to know over the last 10 years, working with him directly and what I hear from people who work with him directly, is that at the core of Aidan is kindness, is a deep humanity, Karibu. And that for me is more important than anything else about Aidan. We need that in our leaders. I think that made Twaweza a deeper, more human, a more wonderful place. I know that it will make OGP that. And I think we are all very lucky to have Aidan because of that. I just wanted to share that with you. If you didn't know that, I know his mama knows that. But just know that the kindness is what's very special. And about Anna, there are many other wonderful things, but I think we'll reserve them for another part, you and Anna. So with that, thank you very much. I'm really glad I made it.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much, Rakesh. Now, before we break for lunch, Dada Violet, now I'm going to call you Dada. I'm not going to call you Madam anymore. I don't want to get into trouble. Dada Violet, our interim executive director, on behalf of the Twaweza East Africa entire team. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Bwana. Of course, I really do not want to do this by myself. James, Team Kenya. Teo, Team Tanzania. And our role is really very simple. You've nurtured all of us. And Rebecca did speak about the fact that you're sailing a certain ship. But that ship is a global ship. And in that ship is a rugby ship. So we would like to pass over this as a token of appreciation. As you know that at the country level, we did send you off. We did share all the things we needed to tell you in Uganda, in Kenya, even Team Tanzania did. But today we are doing this as a regional office, all of us together. And it's a symbol. It's a symbol. Aidan Eyakuze, a local to global change agent. Yeah. As you can see, no pressure. It's got on the globe. You already have the sailing boat. You have a pen with you. We think this will remind you of the great work you have done and the values that you have lived. Thank you for nurturing all of us. We will forever be grateful. keep the flag flying high. And then, my very, very last comment, there too, is to say thank you to each one of you once again for honoring today, but also to invite you for lunch.
Now, I'm the only person standing between you and your lunch. And I have 2 microphones and feeling very powerful. Do you want to have your lunch? Yes. All right, Halifa has said so. So we are all going to break for lunch now, and we continue our interactions, our conversations. But before you leave, if you did not scan the QR code for registration, please do so, but make sure that Aida doesn't see you, but make sure that you register so that we know who was here. Thank you very much. Enjoy your meal. Thank you.